Busy week to come here as we get going on a Monday morning. Stand by. We're going to get a lot starting today, including the WWDC event for Apple getting underway about 1 o'clock our time, Eastern time or market time over on the West Coast. Whole bunch of AI-related headlines expected for Apple coming out of this event. Not only today, we'll get the keynote today, and then it'll continue for the next few days. Nvidia trading post-split here for the first time. Coming off that 10 for 1, $120.60 right now, trying to get back to the upside here at 8:30. Nothing too significant on the economic side of things today, but remember, big week to come. We get CPI, we get FOMC, both coming up on Wednesday this week. So a lot of market moving events to come in relation to the economic and inflation side of things. I was just hearing a couple of data points, nothing related to the U.S. market though. GME, GameStop with a price target increase this morning. So it's back higher. Wedbush of all analysts with a positive note on GME. That was the probably least exciting live stream I think I've ever watched, going back to Friday and Roaring Kitty. But I mean, no one, I guess, knew what to expect off of that. But it was sold off as a result.
I learned absolutely nothing from it. And I guess I'm not trying to be facetious. I just really didn't. So Wedbush, interesting look here, almost doubling their price target from 7 to 13.5. Obviously, we had another nice bump this morning in pre-market trading for GameStop, so it'll be on watch, no doubt about that, and continues to move. Other important stuff, Brendo, CrowdStrike, GoDaddy, and KKR set to join the S&P 500. And an interesting downgrade today from Morgan Stanley on AMD, sending that one down 2.5%.
Yeah, a lot of interesting details on that note in relation to AI and some of the chip race that's going on between all of these companies. But we'll get into that. Yeah, CrowdStrike with a huge move after the close on Friday. It's not really doing a heck of a lot this morning, but holding that gap from Friday on that S&P announcement. Here's GME, meanwhile, 4.5%, as I mentioned. Back and forth we go, around $30 for GameStop to get things going this morning. Southwest, Love with a big move to the upside here today as well, all ahead of Tim Cook taking to the spotlight and the microphone coming up at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Happy Monday, guys.
Happy Monday it is.
Happy Monday.
Yeah, and it's not a big earnings week per se. Like, you got a few that are going to be coming out this week, but you have a lot because Apple event, WWDC, at 1 o'clock. That will always be exciting. Post-split Nvidia. Got to get used to seeing like different amounts of size in level 2. Like, someone's on the bid of 120 for 100,000 shares, which you just wouldn't see when it was at $1,200. But obviously, you make that adjustment. It's not the first party. For a little bit this morning, I couldn't figure out why Palantir was down a few points, and then CrowdStrike and GoDaddy and KKR getting the addition into the S&P 500 kind of means that Palantir has to wait his turn, so I guess that went down a couple of points and a little bit down on sympathy. But there's a lot to look at this morning. We'll actually be looking at some GameStop as well. Half of those gains overnight, I guess we'll call it, over the weekend, already starting to pare back. I don't necessarily understand the gist of the tweet that Roaring Kitty did on Friday, but it was up 10% at one point this morning on that. Just got to watch for the movement. Trade the price action. I think sometimes you get a little too excited about what could happen. Trade the price action, because when he was late, I'll look back to that on Friday. The second it didn't start on time, that live stream, it was probably an easy short. But if you were looking for the long and the big ramp job, you kind of get yourself wrapped up. If you just follow the price action, the second he was late, it was a pretty clear sell. So I just want to be following the path today. No anticipation on GameStop for me.
All right, just got the sticky note out right now. Welcome to the show, everybody. Yeah, it's already starting a little bit early right now. As we're long Apple, we're in the money 15 cents. Let's just see what happens. We're going to try to get some more out here at 1. Well, we don't have anything out yet. We're at 95. See if we get a nice little bump in. We sat down, we punched long. We know we like Apple here today, so it's going to be a name that I'm going to look out for. GameStop was fun to trade on Friday. We'll see if it can come back into $27. That's where we want to buy it today. So we'll be putting some bids down here. I mean, if that's the level that held throughout the morning, throughout yesterday or Friday while he was on, then I'm pretty fine with that kind of a level holding again. So let's see if we can get down into 30s. At 30 now, down $3 into 27 would be a spot. But for me here, hopefully we'll be able to get long Apple more if it does dip down. We've got a decent sized position now in the pre-market. Nvidia on our mind as well, post-split, of course, 120 today. So we'll see if that's going to be there. But again, this is also on the sticky note, Nvidia post-split. Our charts won't react properly to it, so we'll have to be zoomed in here today to look at what's happening with Nvidia. But AMD also with a surprise downgrade.
Yeah, back to highs we go here. Now 0.5% for Apple. You and I were just saying, like so much anticipation for this event coming up today. I mean, the keynote today, the start of the event today. There's a lot of different directions I think we can go with this, but they've waited so long. There's been so much talk as to when will they come to the plate. Here they come. Here
we go.
No pressure, Tim Cook, I guess, this afternoon.
Right? I mean, look, he inherited a lot of good stuff. Obviously, the phone was inherited from Steve Jobs. He added his own stuff, the AirPods, the watch as well. But, you know, those really haven't been the flagship devices. This is kind of his, I don't want to call it a make or break moment, but huge moment here for Apple, in my humble opinion. Anyway, here's what they're going to talk about today. Widely anticipated that we're going to get a Siri upgrade. Let's hear about what other app stores possibly here, the AI app store that could be on the horizon. I want to hear about these partnerships because you'll recall Google pays Apple to be the default search. Now, is it going to be Apple paying Google back for use of Gemini or for paying OpenAI for ChatGPT? So kind of a marked shift here, Brendo, and a lot of people talking about a huge upgrade boom for this iPhone 16 in the same way that we saw the upgrade for the iPhone 6 once they introduced the new screen. So we'll have to see how it all unfolds.
Yeah, if all of this new stuff, AI related, is only available on the new device, then that gives incentive, obviously, for that. But yeah, we'll see. 1 o'clock will, I mean, typically what happens if this is your first time going through a worldwide developer conference, you get everything up front. Like everything is announced right out of the gate, and then they take the next few hours and then days to go through each individual piece of an update or a new product or software or anything like that with a ton more detail. So we should know starting at 1 o'clock this afternoon what we're going to get, guys.
Yeah, it's always. I'm lucky because I have like one friend who's like just a gigantic. I mean, a lot of people are Apple fanboys, but he like lives and dies by like one of those like immediately he's into every single detail about the release, and he gives me like the great summary. So I never actually usually have to listen to it. It's just like, okay, well, give me the Coles notes for it. But I think for a lot of people, when you're looking at the trade, we always talk about buy the rumor, sell the news. In a situation with Apple here, like it's already run into its highs. Triple top on the daily. We talked about this, that $200 level, which, you know, I think we get there. That 200, obviously between them and Tesla, now it's really, really looking like Apple's going to do it possibly today. So at 1 o'clock, all bets are off. Like if there's a big, massive spike and a run, I'm probably looking for an afternoon fade at some point because I'm anticipating it's going to be up in that. But if that happens, that happens. If it's down, I will have to adjust in that situation. But I still think you're running into that 52-week high today. The trend was very strong on Friday. I don't think there's much of any chance that we'll see the big support levels. And if there's no support in there, I always look into previous resistance. So it gets pretty simple. There was a late push through 197 on Friday, but really most of the resistance was 96.5 into 97. I think as long as it's above that number, looking trend long on Apple today. If it breaks down from there, you've got like 95.5, which will also support late in the afternoon. After 1 o'clock, different story, because after that, I'm probably looking for some kind of a sell the news fade event. But that, you just have to see a turn and then look for a trend in the afternoon. And you don't know if it'll be 1:30, 2 o'clock, 2:30, who knows. So you got to play it as like two separate days for me on Apple.
All right, I'm long Apple. I've already written it down on the sticky note. I like the long into this event. I don't think it's worth being long after the event. I just think into it. I really like the chart. Up into new highs here. I think we'll probably take out all-time highs. This is a buy for me today. It's Apple. It's the #1 name on the sticky note.
We're just reading a couple things here on DraftKings. Gapping back to the upside this morning, we had an offering, or I guess they filed to, or proposed shelf offering of 7.5 million shares after the close on Friday. So we did see a bit of a sell-off on very light volume after 4 o'clock on Friday, but right back to essentially the highs from Friday here on. Is it an upgrade or just a price target increase?
Yeah, it's a decent look here. DraftKings top pick being put in their top pick for Morgan Stanley, basically seeing them as the #1 gaming website or service in the United States. We know that they overtook their competitor last year with about 33% market share. They see a positive catalyst with respect to some tax issues that they had that are going to be alleviated. They're also looking at lesser promotional, items there that eat into margins. So we'll keep eyes on that, Brenda.
All right, we'll get to Michael Noss here coming up in a few minutes. We're going to touch on a trade idea that he is watching for the week. Teaser, we talked about the setup going back a couple weeks ago with him, so he'll get back into that. But this is a pretty good level here, guys. 37.5, 38 coming into play here for DraftKings.
Yeah, it's also the 200 period on the SMA, simple moving average on the daily chart, I should say. So, it's not a stock which had been performing the best. Clearly, as you can see, it rolled over. You'd almost say the trend had broken. That's what happens. If you're underneath the 200 period moving average, you've kind of broken a trend of sorts. So if you have a nice upward trend, it is broken to the downside. That said, let me just draw a quick little trend line in here so you can get an idea. Like if you draw from the bottom of the trend line, where this is intersecting right now would be the resistance. So like you had support all the way up, and this could potentially turn into the resistance line. It's roughly this 37, 38 area. So I think it's consolidating exactly where you'd expect to. If it breaks out today, I think 40 is a good level for resistance. Hard to look at this on a day where there's catalyst du jour. Like sometimes you'd say, hey, well, if you're gonna do that offering and then you're gonna be right back at a breakout price, room to 40, just take a breakout long. Low pre-market volume, probably a half a dozen other stocks that people are a little bit more interested in. I would say between GameStop, Apple with the event, Nvidia, AMD in a downgrade, throw in, like Southwest is making a move, Moderna's back in the news this morning. There's a lot of other names that are doing pre-market volume that I think will lend themselves a little bit better to a potential breakout trade. But if it does, a late false move, a late flush off of like a 40 area, or just simply looking for shorts if we never break, that would make some sense to me on DraftKings. When I see a trend break, I'm not usually excited about taking a breakout long. Even if it does set up, it's still a trend break to the downside. It's got to hold bids above 38 or something to excite me. So many things to look at today without meddling over in DraftKings. Are we ready for Mr. Noss? Is it time? Let's get to the desk. We've got the Noss boss.
All right, we teased it. It's Monday morning. We have a number of important events to come this week. Mr. Noss, good to see you as always, including starting today with Apple. We're going to go back to an idea that you teased on the show going back a week or so ago. Give us a couple of thoughts here and maybe a trade or two to look for with this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I teased this, I think, a couple weeks back for an indicator that we were working on called an EMA cloud. So essentially what this does is it shades the area between two moving averages. You can pick SMAs or EMAs, and it's a really good way for especially new traders or even kind of systematic traders like myself to use these areas to define trend and define a fair price in that trend. And it was really interesting. This is just the SPY chart I have up here and an arrow pointed to it. And you can see the pullbacks that have happened throughout the last little bit. And then the more significant pullback that happened just a couple weeks ago landed right inside this cloud. So the one that I choose, and users can pick their own settings, but I just choose the 8 EMA and the 20 EMA just because those are very commonly used and acceptable for my time frame. So like always, we built a scan for it. So what this scan is looking for, and you can hit me up on Twitter, or you can go to trade-ideas.com and you can get access to the scan. I just have it in the next slide here, just showing that, hey, it's looking for stocks that are in uptrends. That's the beauty of this cloud. When the stock's in an uptrend, it turns green, and when it's in a downtrend, it turns red. And when there's really no trend going on, there's really no color there to be seen. So again, a very good way to identify trend. And it looks for stocks that are pulling back into this cloud. And the idea is that you talk about it all the time. You don't want to buy overextended stocks. You don't want to short stocks that are down too much. But how do you define this up too much and down too much and trend? And these clouds really help simplify that. So the scan is, the cloud has to be green. So, it has to be in an uptrend, has to be pulling back into that cloud. So that's a good, fair kind of price to take a look at buying. And then you're looking for bounces out of that. So this is just an example that was on this on shoe stock that's been amazing. But speaking of shoe stocks, I went through this scan as always, and I want to make sure I leave you guys with an example. And we're going to take a look here at Crocs. Now, I've always joked every time I mention Crocs that I'm shocked that they still exist, but now that I have a child in daycare and I had my nephew over a little bit ago, I guess these things are thriving. All the kids are wearing Crocs, and then there's these little attachments that you put in them that I guess they're making money off now. So hey, I thought this was going to be a dead company, but it came up on the scan. So we're going to take a look at it here. As always, we're going to start really, really wide because I'm a swing trader. We're going to start here with the monthly chart. And this is also where we're going to look at fundamentals. So the monthly chart looks great. We're obviously in a very strong uptrend here. Days to cover is 4. Earnings per share is 3. Everything's doing well there. So we're going to zoom into the weekly chart. And notice that the cloud is still green. The cloud was green on the monthly chart. It's green on the weekly chart. And we're above this prior high that we've had for a couple days there. Now, if we go into the daily chart, this is where the scan picked it up. So just the next slide there. The daily chart, it is green cloud again. And you can see last time it pulled in, I just pointed an arrow at, it had a nice bounce out of it. The last 2 times, actually, it pulled into this green cloud. It bounced out. So again, fundamentals look good. Green on the monthly, green on the weekly, green on the daily. So we're seeing that pullback happen there. And not just inside the cloud, but it's also this prior high of about 146 or so as well, where it broke out of. It's pulling back to that level as well. And I really like stocks that break out of level and then pull back and test that level. So how are we going to do the trade? How are we going to manage the trade? So the next chart I have here is the 60-minute chart. And this is, again, we're going to zoom in, and this is where we're actually going to look about where we're going to enter or where I'm going to enter and potentially why. So blue line just represents the $150 area. Psychological numbers are very important. So I'm looking at that 150 area that will get us back above the cloud on the 60-minute chart, which you can see is red. So I want it back above that, and I want that potentially to turn green again. And then the stop loss is just, at yesterday's and today's low if I get that trigger, and that's around 147 or so. So last chart is just something that I should talk a little bit more when I talk about these trades is risk reward, right? Everyone talks about what's the probability that I think this trade will work. I have no idea, but the green line, which is going to represent, we're back to a daily chart, represent my entry point. The red line would be my stop loss. And I think a reasonable target would be these prior highs. So I look at that and I just do this math. So if I'm wrong, I'll lose $3 a share. And if I'm right, I'll probably make around $9 a share. So then I look at that and I say, well, that's 3 times reward to my risk, because everything here is just a probability, right? If I can be right half the time or even a little bit less half the time, but when I'm right, I can make 3 times as much as when I'm wrong, then that's a trade that I should take.
Is a time frame that would work best with something like this? I mean, this is an indicator obviously you can apply to any time frame across the board. If there was a time frame that you would maybe recommend for something like this, is it the higher time frames where you get less, obviously, occurrences of this type of move, or can people look at 5-minute charts, 10-minute, 15-minute charts as well?
Yeah, we have one of the people that we're actually developing this for is exclusively a day trader. So he looks at it on 1-minute and 10-minute charts. I would say anything that you apply a moving average to, because this is just the distance between 2 moving averages, you can apply it to. But I know people already at Trade Ideas that are playing with this on a 1 minute chart, and they're looking for that high flyer of the day, the stock that's in the news and just rips from the opening price. And then they're waiting for it to come back into that cloud, show them some sort of support on a 1 minute chart, and then bounce off for intraday trades as well. And again, me and Neil talk about this all the time, and I love it. Trading is fractal. So what I'm talking about on a daily chart, I think a 1 minute chart for this strategy would work just as well.
Great stuff. Mr. Noss, have a great Monday. We'll see you again in a few hours after the close.
Talk to you then.
Yeah, great point, Michael. And I love the fact that the trading is like that. When you say fractal, it just means that you can apply the same kind of patterns, same kind of ideas across the horizon, and they just repeat themselves. The only thing I would add to that is you do have to always make that distinction for liquidity when it comes to day trading versus swing trading. So like the example, because Crocs was the example, I would simply say, and most people will get this, is that Crocs it's a $146 stock. Hey, now Nvidia is kind of adjacent to it, right? So Nvidia is $120. Those two aren't going to have the same amount of liquidity on them. Like there's pretty much no chance that you're going to be able to trade the same lot size and get in and out on Crocs as you would Nvidia. So that would be the somewhat limiting factor, I would say, between trading things like Crocs for a swing trade and trying to apply it to a day trade. But when you're looking at those lower flow, those high flyers, your small cap names that are going, they're doing tens of millions of shares. So there's always going to be plenty of liquidity there. So we love those patterns. I find it hilarious when Michael's like, yeah, I thought Crocs would be a dead company. And then he sees, like, now he's got a kid. You look in daycares and they have them everywhere. I feel like that's one of those realizations. I'm a Crocs guy. Like, I've always had a pair of Crocs. But it wasn't until I saw kids in them as much. And I start going to activities on my daughter's baseball team. Before the kids change into their cleats, half of them are wearing Crocs to the game, and then they're changing into their baseball spikes. It's like, they're a good product, but it's also a great looking chart.
Yeah, Crocs is pretty good there. 8.5% short float. Yeah, not a bad name, not a bad name. Apple makes a little bit of a dip down there as well into the 50s. I'm trying to buy some more 50s here. I'm on this bid all the way down in. So let's see what happens here with the market. It looks like it's trying to fade out just a little bit right now. Yeah, I want to definitely be buying any dips there in Apple today. And then, of course, we have the post-split of Nvidia coming into 120 and change. I was just talking with Wayne there. I like 118. Again, on the sticky note today for 118 down there on Nvidia. I like that price. And I think that today, already 6 million shares, now $120 name. I mean, stock split 10-1. So now you have some, now you don't. We'll wait to see if people come in today and start to sell some of the shares that they have. So again, Nvidia continues to work out here and looks like it wants to go higher. I'm buying this name at 118.
All right, a few other things moving around here. DSY, a couple of people just mentioning, popping up once again on a volume scanner here in front of me. We'll check into that. A few smaller names. There's this HOVR that's up significantly. That DSY, BNRG, RRPROK as well, another one moving around. Those are the highest on the volume scale of things. PROK, another small cap, just popping up here in front of me as well. But Apple on a downtick here again, 1 o'clock. Keep in mind, Wednesday, guys, going to be a monstrous day. CPI at 8:30 and then FOMC at 2 p.m. We'll obviously not get any move as far as the Fed is concerned, but lots of expectations on the potential for comments from Fed Chair Powell coming off, remember, not one but two central bank cuts in Canada and the EU last week.
Yeah, and well, there's actually, our markets are slightly down, like 0.16, but there's a heck of a lot going on in Europe if you're paying attention to it with the elections. And snap elections going to happen in a couple of countries. And then you had a big shift of power, I guess, over in Paris. But here, things are relatively quiet after what was a Jekyll and Hyde Friday. Like Friday was, if you looked at what happened into the NASDAQ on Friday, it was like, oh, well, let's break the highs, make some lows, and then go back to the highs. And well, let's check out those lows again because we don't want them to be lonely. It was just an absolute seesaw kind of day, which is great for day trading because you get these big, long trends of which there were essentially just the long in the morning and the short in the afternoon. If you're really fortunate in the pre-market to have caught a short, fantastic, and all well and good. That said, the pattern is a little bit bearish off of that 1911 and now testing the 19,000 level. So that's what I'd be concerned about. Apple's strong, Nvidia post-split, we'll see. That's actually trading to the downside right now. So there is some concern that we could lose this 19,000. So I don't want to be wrapped up in euphoria thinking, hey, Apple's up, so the market's going to go up at this moment. A lot of names are teetering on the precipice of, I'd say, pretty significant levels to break. One of them, like Meta, $490. Meta rejected $500 on Thursday, or was it Thursday? Yeah, it was Thursday, and then on Friday was short underneath, it was like $499. It couldn't break the 500 again. So Meta breaking 490 has a bit of a gap into the downside that you got to be able to watch out for. We talked about on Friday Microsoft, which it had a bit of a failed break as well. And a lot of stocks will look like this because we failed that high, but it got to 425, broke it several times, couldn't take that extra dollar higher, and you kind of have a head and shoulders there. So you want to keep an eye on some of these bigger names that did reject big highs on Friday. If they all start doing the same thing, well, there's going to be some short opportunities, specifically in the market, in the NASDAQ. We're not holding on to 19,000 if Meta loses that support level. If Microsoft breaks down into the 420, it doesn't really matter about WWDC if some of the other names are all looking weak.
Look, I think today what everyone's going to want to trade is going to be GameStop and AMC. And I just feel like there are going to be lots of opportunities in these names again. So, we saw this on Friday. It was a great opportunity. And as Brendan said, it was so exciting. And I was so hyped up once 12:30 hit. And we started to see the sort of his pre-show sort of start to come in. I think that was so awesome. And then he came in there looking like a fool, all dressed up and beat up in the chair. I thought that was great as well. And then just basically said absolutely nothing, showed his position. So I don't know what we expect this guy to say, honestly. I mean, he actually talked about all the movie tweets. And then today he has that other one there. We talked about it a little bit. I can call it up here. Roaring Kitty actually comes up on my timeline now because I keep looking for it. But here it is right here. And then there's what we're talking about from Dark Knight there. And there is that cat, not in a hat, but it looks like the headless there. So, well, that's head. I don't know where the body is. But right there. So we'll have to see what exactly this is all meaning. I don't think it means anything. And I think the proper thing to do here is find my chart so I can show it to you again. There it is right here. Is it? No, my chart has disappeared, so that's not going to be good right now. But at the end of the day, I still think GameStop's a buy here. I think you got to be patient with it. We just paid for shorts. They're very, very cheap, very easy to borrow. GameStop down near $27. Let's be patient with it. Already 6 million shares. I like the stock. Remember, the expiry of these contracts, I believe, is last Friday in June, I believe. I'll find that out, but you guys in the chat would know. So still a couple weeks to go here, holding on to these calls for Keith Gill.
Yeah, it's going to be another wild week, I'm sure, for both of those. AMC, I just saw significant volume once again this morning as well. Not a lot in the way of price action. You and I were just talking Planet Fitness with a, I don't know why I was excited about that, but with a nice upgrade here this morning, $72. This thing kind of stuck in a range. This is a weekly chart, actually, so if you zoom way out, it's been stuck in a range all the way back to 2021, 2020, but I think it was Truist this morning. Jefferies raising to a buy here for PLNT.
And a significant premium, $62 was the previous price target, now 100, so almost a 40% premium there. I was just, joking with Brendo off camera that, it wasn't the cool gym, but now I'm starting to realize, as I see stuff online, that things are changing a little bit. They are trying to change their culture because it was very limiting. They only wanted a certain type of individual working out there, not others. At least that's how it was viewed, in popular media, and so I think that's changing.
I mean, there's one literally right down the street here. That's every time I walk by it, it's always very busy. So, anyways, all right, let's have a look at the overall market here as we get going towards the open on a Monday.
53.56, guys. So we close above that 50-point technical resistance level. So to the high side, let's go ahead and say this consolidation top that we put in over the last few days, 53.75 as resistance. As support, if we can hold 53.50, we're below it right now. If we can't, this is the level right here, this 53.10. That is the base that we trended at for a few days.
All right, it's day number 1 for Nvidia post-split. If you haven't done so, go to the website, tradertv.live, enter your email address in the pop-up, and then you get the watch list sent right to your inbox every single day. Nvidia post-split for the first time this morning, trading down, however, for the 3rd day in a row, now below 120 here, coming back into this pre-market support.
Yeah, and basically analyst firm TD Cowen looking and saying, you know, that their previous target or their current target now $140, reflecting the new adjusted price of it. There was a lot of, you know, research done by some of these companies, basically saying, Goldman Sachs saying of the analysis of 45 Russell 1000 stock splits since 2019 showed a typical increase of about 4% the week following, but no significant price moves subsequent to that week. So, you know, just some data points to keep in mind because there's nothing really fundamentally has changed about the company.
Yeah, I was reading a note on the weekend that quoted Elon was congratulating Jensen on the 3 trillion milestone, but it was essentially saying there's 10x potential still in Nvidia at this point, regardless of the split. So. What are we looking at here, guys, as far as the trade setup potentially here for Nvidia?
Look, for me, it's pretty simple. We have it written down here on our sticky note today, and it's a pretty simple one. I like the long on a dip. I mean, I wrote down 118 right there, just in case it drops post-split. I think it's already been sort of juiced up here. We've talked about kind of the run that it's had already. So I like the stock, but I think it might be a little bit overheated. Our charts will need to get updated post-split, so you're not going to see the 119. I'm just loading up my e-signal, which will be able to have a little bit more details on this trade. But again, remember, I think there's so much of that run that has happened here in Nvidia was because of the split and the fact that we'd be able to come in here, see this thing around $100, get really excited to trade it. And then some of us that may be a little bit, here, I gotta get rid of this, that might be a little bit, you know, uneducated about how stock splits work, might have thought that this was somehow changing, you know, its price to earnings or anything like that. Well, I mean, this is 118. We were just here. This is that 180 level. Remember, we kept bouncing off 1180, 1184, 1185, things like that. So now these are the levels that I think we're going to try to get back into. So this is probably one of the best names to buy on any dips. I do feel the market's going to be coming back at some point, and it might be happening right now with Nvidia. Just broke 120, so let's see if it gets into this 118. I think it's a pretty good buy there. Whether or not, you know, it gets there quickly, I don't know how it's going to trade off the open, but I know I want to be long Nvidia today. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look, we'll have AMD obviously talking about that later. We just bought some more Apple as well on that dip. Apple just dipped into the 50s. We said we want to get that down there. So we put some more on. We're long here at 66 on Apple. But yeah, Nvidia's a long for me down at 118. I think you gotta try to play that.
Yeah, the easiest thing about Nvidia is, like, even with our charts that don't necessarily split adjust, well, it's 10 for 1, so the math becomes really easy to just, you can look at all the old levels, and I don't want to change any of that. It spent 2 days with a 120, so a 12.2 top and an 1180 bottom. So when we were trading above 120, my first thought was, hey, I still respect the 120, what I'm going to call the 122 level, or 122.5 level, which was 12.25 last week. So if we cannot break that, I think you can still be in the sell the news phase for Nvidia. It was a pretty, the way that this rejected 1250 and then that same lower high, that's a significant resistance level. So I'm anticipating a whole lot. And I remember this with, is this a bigger deal than when Amazon did? But I do remember this with Amazon, that it was a bit of an inside day. And I think a lot of people considered it boring the first day after the split. And I wouldn't be surprised to see that exact same thing. It had a couple of days where the big range was $40. That's 3.5%. If it does that today, if you consider that boring, I don't. I think you can trade that range today on Nvidia. AMD, like Sean said, we'll get to the AMD downgrade because I think that's in a totally different bucket as well. And I don't want to ignore the relationship the two have had recently, where especially early on, if one's going one way, oftentimes the other is going the other. So keep that in mind when you're trading Nvidia and AMD. I think you could see that again. But I am willing to short this one up here at that 122.5. But with the 120 break, clearly you're much closer to support than you are that resistance level, which is further and further away as we speak.
Apple green on the morning here to start things off. Bit of a downtick right now. It's, I mean, it's 0.3% right now, just holding below 198. 1 o'clock this afternoon, there's a lot of software-related updates that are expected here on the iOS side of things across basically all devices, including, I just saw already Vision OS 2. Yep. That didn't take too long to get one of those coming through. ChatGPT, we heard about this going back a week or so ago, the potential of a deal between OpenAI and Apple going on to these new devices as well. So we'll watch it for that. And then it's just AI, and more AI.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's all we've been waiting for. They've been so secretive about their AI plans, contrary to most of these other Mag 7 companies. All right, so I'll just look over what Daniel Ives of Wedbush said about this upcoming Apple event. He's been one of the most vocal proponents for Apple during a time where you didn't hear too much positivity coming up from these analysts. So WWDC will mark a turning point, ignite AI-driven growth for iPhones and Apple services. He says he believes the developer tools that are going to be announced today are mostly going to be focused on AI. He expects also an AI-based apps, and maybe even an app store. He's predicting, again, like I mentioned this morning, an iPhone super upgrade cycle, much like the iPhone 6. And he's looking at an ambitious price target here, Brendo, $275. He's got a PT on this one.
1 o'clock, again, if you haven't been through one of these events before, 1 o'clock we'll get Tim Cook and the keynote address. It's long, typically at least a couple of hours, if not longer. So strap in this afternoon. Apple could get pretty volatile.
We've seen it before. Like, when you get that event, like the wicks that will happen almost immediately when the algos start having their fun with things, it can be wild. So like I said, I'm treating this as like almost 2 separate days for Apple. There's going into 1 o'clock, and then there's like during the event. You could almost call it 3, but it's after the event starts. I am looking for a sell the news moment in the event. So that'll generally be like you get like a run up, and then there's a big hammer down. Look for continuation late in the afternoon if that is the case. Just because we've seen it happen and it's been successful in the past. Until then, it's been trend up. It broke out late in the day on Friday. It actually took out the week's high. Very, very late, like right at the end of the day, and then closed up at that top. I just want to play support into resistance, or resistance into support in this particular case. So that 197 was technically the high. You had 196.5, which was that top before it. That's the zone I want to be long in front of on a dip buy. All bets are off at 1. Like if the stock is up 2%, like it could be up 2% at 1 o'clock, and even if it does a spike, I'll be looking for some kind of a curl after 1 o'clock. But until then, be looking to buy some dips here in Apple. That $200 mark is certainly in play. I want to respect the fact that it is very close to some all-time highs in there, at least fresh highs at the 200. So if it does get to that level, and there's like gigantic size on the 200 level, I've been unwilling to do anything but take breakouts at levels like that. But if Apple's got millions on the offer at 200, I think I'd be willing to scalp it. I think not shorting some of these big levels when they get there, at least the first time through, has been a missed opportunity. And I feel like Apple's one that if it gets to like 99, 95, I think I'd be on the offer trying to short it.
All right, we're already long right now, Apple at 197.60. The market's coming down. This is always the problem when we took this trade, is that the market was starting to go downside. It's been down now for about an hour or so when we started to break here, about 45 minutes. So, that's sort of started this move down. So we'll have to wait to see if the NASDAQ wants to hold 19,000. I mean, that's right where we are right now. So look, I think Apple's a great long into here, but the good thing about this trade is, of course, is we have lots of opportunities to get out. We wrote down 197 as our area of support. We can clearly see that if this breaks this 196, 195.75 or so, I don't like to hold anything past a 50-period moving average. So right here on the 20, I mean, I'm not going to use it now on the 1 because we're way underneath it, so it doesn't really matter. But let's give this to the 20-period moving 20-minute chart. That's down here at 196. Feel like we should be able to hold that. So we have some more bids down here at 197. We'll get longer on Apple, and then hopefully we'll be able to ride it to the north side here for the rest of the day. So again, pretty risky heading it into 1 o'clock. But after that, we'll be out, and then we'll see what happens with Apple. I think it's one of the best longs out there. How's it going?
Let's go on to GameStop here. Back to the upside right now, trying to hold on to 29. Coming off what happened on Friday, I mean, we talked about it a couple times here, that live stream from Roaring Kitty. I mean, there's a whole bunch to do about nothing, really. Couple of positive notes this morning from analysts, including a price target increase today for GameStop.
It is, and it's a decent one, Brendo, from 7 to 13.5, almost doubling it. That comes vis-a-vis Wedbush. Look, on the stream that we covered live on the Midday show on how to trade, Keith Gill, Roaring Kitty, reiterated his view that GameStop has turnaround potential under CEO Ryan Cohen. Didn't give any specifics with respect to that. He did have the largest audience for his live stream. 924,000 people viewed this video.
Absolutely crazy.
Up from the 714,000 that he had max last time. So good look for him. We'll have to keep on watch on GameStop to see if it moves today.
It was insane. There was, at one point, it was 650,000 people waiting before it even started for that live stream. So unreal numbers anyways for YouTube. GME guys, is there a trade here today?
Well, it's going to move, so there's always a trade. So the good thing about a stock that halts as many times as it did and had that live event is you really got to put in some pretty big levels. Like that 30, like when the stream started, or sorry, didn't start, I should say, was resisting 38.5. When it did start, you had the exact same top that it turned around. So that's a big one. And then this little bottom in here where it tried an up halt, it rejected 32.5, which was the previous support. If it's not breaking 32.5, the only level is that $26 bottom. Like if you're not breaking out, you're not squeezing. So without a break of 32.5, I think it can be faded underneath there. If it does break that level, you got plenty of room to the 38.5 level as well. So I think that gap to that gap was a fantastic opportunity. But if you're not breaking 32.5, you just got to be patient with it. We talked about the significance of 26. You know, the fact that it dipped off that price and it also happened to be the last support level it had on the way up makes some sense. So I think you got to be patient, wait for the key price levels. If it starts going into, there's no catalyst today that if it goes into an up halt, I'm just going to jump on the bid like I was trying to do at the open, like everybody was trying to do at the open on Friday. So I'm not doing any of that kind of a game. That was a one-shot deal. It would have been fantastic if we'd actually gotten the fill, but I'm not looking to get into any halt trades on GameStop. Like always, if it does make a big flush to the downside, I will look over at things like AMC and BlackBerry for potential fades. You can play it in both directions. Like if GameStop does go in an up halt unexpectedly, maybe there's an available breakout above 510 on AMC. It's just a matter of flipping there really quickly in case I've missed a trade in GameStop.
Look, I paid for shorts on GameStop here today, but I want to go long, obviously. We're going to be down here at $27. We talked about that. Thing is like, look, he could flip back on at any moment, go live, and then, next thing you know, the stock could start to go crazy again. So I think it's one of those things where you got to keep your ear to the ground on it. But let's not just focus on the fact that this guy's doing, thank you, Randy, more and more live streams. Thank you, Mr. Randy, for that. The thing about it is, too, they just diluted their stock with 75 million. Remember, we talked about that. So the balance sheet getting worse for GameStop. Plus, they did have a little bit of cash on hand, over $2 billion. So that could be something as well. But the stock was rocking, then they come out with the earnings, which were worse than expected, and the dilution of shares. So, I mean, if this stock didn't have Roaring Kitty behind it, I don't know where it would be, but it does, so we have to trade it like that. So $25 or so, Randy. I know you're probably holding long on some GameStop, so no, not at all. Okay, yeah, more of a value investor over here. But yeah, $27 I think is a decent bottom there for GME. But anyways, you had a good weekend? You were up north? Bugs were fine, or?
Bugs were fine. The rain.
Okay. Yeah, I know. It kept raining and raining and raining.
All weekend.
We had.
It could have been worse, actually.
Yeah, we had one game rained out, but a couple of practices got in there. So there we go. Randy to the moon, people are saying. So that's good. Yeah, let's go with GameStop. I mean, that's the plan of action. I'm already bidding 27, so let's get ready to rock and roll.
Just noting Love here, Southwest, just popping back up in front of me again. It's all the way back to, I guess, the beginning of April, middle of April levels here. 29.80, 29.90 pre-market. Elliott disclosing a 1.8 billion or 1.9 billion stake in Southwest Airlines. So a nice gap for Love this morning. Yeah, let's talk some AMD to the downside today. And this comes back to this AI race at the end of the day. A couple of cautionary notes really last week as well, not necessarily on AMD specifically, but on the space itself, saying at some point, it's going to even itself out.
Oh yeah, oh absolutely, and Nvidia's market share, likely to get eaten into as more people come into the competition with them. And this one, AMD specifically looking to compete with Nvidia. They forecasted about $4 billion worth of revenue from AI-related chips, but their stock price really reflected more like $6 billion, which caused Morgan Stanley to kind of give them a bit of a downgrade, downgrading it to equal weight. And actually, they're actually championing a different horse. They're looking at Broadcom. They're saying Broadcom stands to make a bit better of a move than AMD, and it's not as aggressively priced. Look at the EPS of AMD, it's very high. So they're giving Broadcom the nod here and assigning a new price target for it at $16.58, Brenda.
Just seeing AMD going to present at a conference this week as well. It's nothing major, but if you zoom out a little bit on AMD, go out a couple of weeks or so, we're just back to the bottom end of the range here, really, guys, just chopping around.
And the thing to consider for volume, like now that they're similarly priced, you can look at AMD as being maybe at best like a quarter of the relative volume of Nvidia when you adjust for price. That notional number, it's a stark difference. That said, I mean AMD's movement has been spectacular from a volatility standpoint each and every day. And when I sat down, I felt like there was a better likelihood that you could have traded off of like 68 and 69, like you could have been breaking back out. It was slightly trending, getting through that 64 level, and I thought if we were holding that support level, this is going to be a fade up there in those high 60s. But when I see this very clear, there's your 69 to 60 bottom, there's your top up there, 69 to 70 top. Like there's your $10 range, and I want to play. It's like an over/under for me. I've used that term before. If we're underneath 64, weak market, all that good stuff, stock has $4 worth of downside into a short. So when that 10 o'clock, that opening range hits, if AMD is rejecting 164, it's a short. If AMD is holding 164, it's a long. And I almost don't care what Nvidia is doing when it comes to AMD. There's been a big mistake, well, at least I'd say for myself, it's been a mistake sometimes to be in that whole, these are going to follow each other mode, and that just has not been true recently. You got to let them move on their own. AMD's got some obvious levels where it's a turn. It just cannot seem to get out of this range. We can talk about Tesla like this too. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to quickly go to Tesla because it's basically the same story for Tesla. It's a very distinct bottom, this 72.5 to 73. It's a very distinct rejection of anything at or above the 180 level recently. So when this stock does this little heartbeat like this, I think you just got to trade it respecting the range until otherwise. So I think AMD's in this bucket. I think Tesla's in this bucket. And I don't think you have to overcomplicate it. It does mean a lot of patience while it's diddling in the middle, and maybe you don't have trades off these at 9:30 because of it. But if you just wait around, sometimes it's the middle of the day, sometimes it's the afternoon. Maybe it is at the open on a big dip or a rip. Just wait for those levels. I mean, a Tesla, 72.5, 73, up here at the 80 level. Don't be afraid to play that mean reversion trade because it worked all last week on Tesla, and it's been working on AMD as well.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote down here on this, 165 for AMD. So I think that we're going to try to go short there on any kind of a pop-up for advanced micro devices. That 165 was sort of the breaker spot there. That held on Friday. It held in the morning off that number. So I just kind of want to look back, try to find like a past reference point and just be like, you know what, let's see if we can break back above there. Down 3% today into a market that's flat. That's never a good sign, right? And then 65 held there. It held the day before. So let's short it back up into 165. Let's be patient and wait for it. AMD on the sticky note, the short at 165. I feel like we can't miss that, but we've shorted AMD and got run over before. So let's just be super, super patient because if the big dog goes down, then obviously AMD will follow it. So there's going to be two things working against AMD here. One, Nvidia breaking through 120. And if Nvidia goes to the downside, I like the 118 buy better than any sort of a buy here on AMD. 160 losing for AMD is going to be a problem for that stock as well. But again, just watch out to see what happens down there. News, there's been one little period, like it goes down, drops down $1 and keeps on making it back. I just think today with the downgrade and possible moves with Nvidia, I'm not sure we make it back. So let's wait to see what happens at 160. I know that's a little ways away, so I'd rather fade pops if they're available early, 165 short on advanced micro devices.
Very nice looking chart here, daily chart and even intraday here for CrowdStrike to start the week here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row here, straight upside for Crowd. 5.8% this morning on the back of this announcement after the close on Friday, going into the S&P 500 along with KKR and GoDaddy, website hosting site GoDaddy, going into the S&P. So pretty active as well this morning.
Yeah, definitely, especially after the earnings. All three of those go into the S&P on June 24th, so be on the lookout for that. Yeah, the reason for the inclusion here being touted as improved financials, including a focusing on balancing growth and efficiency. Their price stock is expected to rise about 5.6%. Obviously, that's just options analysis there. And as you said, KKR and GoDaddy going in there as well. So we'll keep an eye on these three.
Yeah, relative volume speaking, pretty high so far today, guys. Any ideas here?
Actually, I have some ideas on Palantir. And I've sort of prefaced that when we started the show by saying, I wasn't sure initially why Palantir was down, then it kind of makes sense with Crowd and GoDaddy and KKR going in, and a lot of expectation was that, hey, Palantir would be next. It just means they have to wait at least around, and we'll see. Like maybe it's a quarter from now, maybe it's the end of the year, maybe it's next year. You never really know how these things play out. Great for CrowdStrike, good relative volume, although a decent portion of that has happened on some dark pool dumps. So it's good volume, but it's not overwhelming. It's already starting to drift back in here. I think 360 would be the key dip by level. 60, if you look at the daily chart as well, looking like a decent spot to fill in that gap. But I just look at this move in Palantir, and it's down 3.5%. The market's down as well. We're underneath that 19,000. And there's been a level, if you've been watching Palantir the last little bit, that's been rock solid right around the 21. So if we do end up with a really big down day, that would be, it's a perfect setup because it would be down 10% at 21. That's unlikely, but that's a 100% I'd be long 21 if we got there. But I'm looking for dip buys in Palantir. If the reason this is down, I know it's a weak market, is because they're not getting included right now, then ultimately that's not that big of a deal in the long term. So I think there will be buyers of this stock today, and I look at 22 even, I look at all these key levels going back last week. I'll zoom in a little more so you can see. Like you had the 22, which was a good close, and then dip support. Then you have down here like 21.65. That support level. And then you have a key close here at 21.25 into the 21. So on dips, I'm looking for all of these support levels that came in, specifically on the 4th and then the 5th as dip buys for Palantir. Just anticipating that they might oversell this on disappointment that they didn't get the ad and Crowd, GoDaddy, and KKR did.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting day for Palantir. Could drop into some of those levels for sure. Look, CrowdStrike again wins again. I mean, we talked about this live on the recap show when it was down here at 280, and then we had Brian Shannon on. I go, Brian, this is a buy down here at 280, 290. Now it's almost $100 higher than that, and that was 5 or 6 days ago. So join me this Tuesday in 2 days where we will have Brian back on the show, and I'm sure he'll mention that buy there on CrowdStrike. Congratulations, anybody that has this. A pullback into VWAP is what we want to trade. So it's coming in right now. Let's see if VWAP wants to hold this 366 for longs on CrowdStrike. But again, huge move. I still stay long. We were watching Uber. We were watching Tesla. All these names that kept getting added to different indexes, they just kept flying for a minute. So I still feel like that's something that's going to happen here to CrowdStrike. It's too bad it's so expensive. This will be one of the next names to split, CrowdStrike. I feel like there's a lot of catalysts here to buy. I'd be long CrowdStrike, and I think we'll try to do that today. Just got to wait for the price. So, it's going to be a fun one to go. Little less shares, bigger moves happening on CRWD. Feel like it's one of the best, if not the best now, name in the space, taking over PanW. So, all right, let's go back over to the desk with Sharif.
Guys, today we're talking about those lesser known continuation patterns on how to trade. Make sure to catch that at 11 with Obi and I today. Adair's still on vacation at 11, Brendo.
Yeah, enjoying a long weekend. Hope she is anyway. She'll be back with us tomorrow. There's actually a couple here. I was just noting Adobe downside pre-market as well. Melius analysts downgrading to a hold on quote-unquote tough competition for Adobe. And then there's also TD Cowen cutting their price target on Adobe as well. So Gapping back to basically where it started on Friday here for Adobe.
I saw a lot of videos on my favorite social media platform, TikTok, the other day that people were really complaining about their updated terms of service. Apparently now they're going to be able to go into your saved documents, pictures, videos that are saved on their cloud and train their AI data set off it. Brendo, that's causing a lot of ire with some online creators.
Yeah, there's a lot more options out there for all of these products at this point as well.
Yeah, they were dealing. They were having to respond to a lot of criticism. Adobe out there. It's not like this stock feels like one that when it gets out of this little malaise, it's going to be good. But the trend has been doing the wrong thing. Like there's your 50. You've been hugging it and rejecting it since earnings, and every single tick of that 50. Just look, we just got some Apple at 925. Probably has some bounces starting to come out there. But yeah, any tick into the 50 period just feels like a sell till it's not on Adobe, unfortunately. So not a very good look for them. It is what it is. I wanted to quickly mention Southwest here because CrowdStrike. Elliott Capital disclosing a stake in Southwest does look like it's rejected the 30 level, at least pre-market. You can see on the daily, any break and hold in the open market above 30, I think is going to be a good one. Certainly a good stock in terms of what it just did the last couple of weeks. There's a huge hold of like 25 and then trend up, consolidation, trying to break trend. So above 30 looks solid. Didn't really think you'd have a chance to get resistance into support at that 28.5 and that 200 period moving average on the daily, but that would be a good spot for a dip buy in Southwest. So Elliott Management declaring a stake or disclosing a stake in SUV or LUV. It was up 10%, starting to fill the gap back in. Here is Southwest. So that's very, very much in play. Good volume, 1.5 million pre-market already.
All right, so yeah, Apple came in. That's good. We got with some more 197s. We'll see what happens here on those imbalances. So let's have a quick little look to see. So Nvidia comes huge with a buy, and that thing just rips straight up to the upside there. So here's Nvidia. Zoom in a little bit. So it was down to that 119 level. We called 118. It looks like 119 is what wants to hold for Nvidia right now. Palantir with a sell, but really pretty lame right now off the open. There isn't too many stocks that are on here as well. ZM, Zoom is going to be there. There's Palantir. We talked about that. FFIE, a name to watch if and when these names start to go a little bit crazy. GameStop and AMC here. There's AMC with a bid. I said GameStop, but I don't see it. It's just AMC right here. So, oh, there's GameStop. My bad. There it is. 400,000 to buy. So, nice little bid there happening for GME. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited heading into the open. We'll see what winds up happening with some of these stocks, both AMC and GME, both with buys to start the day. And then the only position that we have is Apple coming in a little bit right now. So we'll see. Downside there. There's always a risk when you take, obviously, positions in the pre-market. I don't know if we actually flushed into the 70s there or not. We may have done that. So we'll wait to see what happens now with Apple trying to breaking through 197.
That was fugazi.
Yeah, okay, that didn't happen. That's okay. That doesn't really matter anyway. It's probably going to get down there now. So here it comes. There it is. So there's the break, and here's the move lower on Apple to start your day. And Apple a day does not keep WWDC away because that is happening today.
You need to have a banana as well.
We'll wait to see. I already had my banana
apple
today.
and a banana.
Yeah, the banana's already
Actually, I stole the banana.
There. 196, 195 for Apple. Yeah, that's what we're waiting for. 196 flat.
Yeah, 196 halves might get taken out at the open. That's the level that I liked it into. So I don't like punching up pre-market. But if it breaks like 40s, I'm going to jump out. I did want to mention, we talked about 70,000 last week a lot on Bitcoin. So we're underneath there. Could press back into that 70,000. If we get a break of 70, I want to look for a Coinbase long. This is like one of those, I'm not really that interested unless we're trending back in to the upside. So if we do break 70, I would anticipate we've held 240 on Coinbase, which is key support, as you can see. And if that happens, I'd just be looking for longs. Back in, either break in 250 or back up to the top. So Coinbase pulled back 10%. It's actually a 10% pullback from the highs on Thursday and Friday already. So if we can bounce through 70,000, I'd be looking for Coinbase long specifically. If we never do, the stock actually might end up being short, but it's not the first place I'm going to be going to. Nvidia on that big shot to the upside, 120 half, I think it got to. Advanced Micro Devices, AMD, went to the downside. So remember what we said. these stocks have this weird tendency to not follow each other recently. So AMD goes down, Nvidia goes up. If Nvidia starts flying, I think you get a chance for that move into 160 on AMD, which has been a good support level for the last couple of weeks. We mentioned Tesla, just want to play the inside of the range there. Apple, if it can hold 196.5, great. I don't mind getting out and getting back into that name specifically. And then do not forget about GameStop. I'm not anticipating any kind of a halt off the open. If it does, I might react in AMC or something, but 26, the big key level for me on the dip. As we're about to get that bell ring in less than 10 seconds, I have no idea who's gonna ring it. Oh, the man himself is running to ring the opening bell. That'll be Brendan. Let's get this Monday started. WWDC day in 3, 2, and 1. Ring it, Brendo.
All right, here we go. Yeah, WWDC day starts Apple with a nice little move back to the upside right here, but it's still just flying around. Apple goes downside. It just touched 197.30. We could have got out for flat plus
That was insane.
On that one, but here it comes. Pulling back in for Apple. Let's see what winds up happening now. 196.50 level now for AAPL. Little bit of a dip down. We're still waiting for a little bit lower than this, but hey, if it wants to move back up, we're all here for that. A quick little look on Nvidia, 120 and change, sort of as expected. GameStop just doing its dance around here as well at $29. So GameStop dips down into 28 and change. Now we'll wait to see what winds up happening here with GME. Obviously on our mind here today, but Apple's a big trade, the biggest one here. Let's wait to see what happens with AAPL.
Yeah, that Nvidia is just flashing all over the place. GME not really doing a heck of a lot. We said crowd could be an interesting dip buy. No, it can't. Want to know why it's not a dip buy? Because it's already through the top. 7% to the upside on CrowdStrike. So I think you can stick a fork in that. Palantir not reacting with a sell. So if I go dip buy hunting, it might not be at that $22 level. Apple still. I actually haven't seen Apple fly around like this. It went all the way down to 40s, right back up to 97s, and then right back into the bottom. I haven't gotten a refill at 196.5 just yet, but Apple now starting to catch a solid bid. GameStop's coming down, and Nvidia now actually starting to accelerate to the downside.
Yeah, we've got a big trade again here on Nvidia. We punched a 120 short, so there it is right there, man. We're just flying again here today. Nvidia short, Apple long. There's the short on Nvidia. There's some covers down into the 50s. So again, I don't necessarily want to be super short this name. We're out of half already. Let's put something else on the bid here at 65s. Or in the 60s, I think we went to 65, and see what winds up happening. Again, that was just an early flush there on Nvidia through $20. So take advantage of that move down. Here it comes flying back up. I think the out could be 121. I mean, we haven't really gotten up to that level yet. So if that's an L there at 121, that's fine. I mean, I think Nvidia is not a name we want to be short for very long. Just trying to play some of that momentum back down, of course. And then Apple still can't get going either. We just took some more bids down there at 196.50. This could be a disaster one there for Apple. There goes Nvidia flying to the high side again. So yeah, just very dangerous here early on Nvidia.
Is that a real, oh my goodness. I was just getting a reload into Apple. That is a real wick. A 121.25.
yeah.
So remember, you can just do the divisions for the key levels. Like if you know 121.15 was or 12.15 was a big level, you just do that simple like get rid of a zero kind of math, which does make sense. I wanted to look to short some pops in here. There's a refresher at 121 even. If it fails this level, I'm looking for a curl. Brendo?
Early strength in retail, guys. Walmart did gap higher. It did test 67.40, straight back downside though. JP Morgan with an upgrade this morning for Walmart.
All right, cool. We'll watch out for Walmart. Here comes Nvidia right back downside. We did average into the short, but again, it's just a flat trade right now for us on Nvidia as it does go up to 121 and we take some more short there. So it's a 50-cent winner off the reload right now for Nvidia. And again, just trying to wait to see what happens with Apple. I mean, I still like the story here. We talked about WWDC coming through today. So yeah, man, I like the stock. I like the story. Let's see if it wants to work. We did get a nice little bid down there. But again, we're trying to see if we can hold on for a bigger move. I mean, these futures got to hold 19. You know, if they don't hold 19, that's a problem. It's a nice move all the way back, but we're still waiting to see, you know, is there more news coming? Is there something happening here with Apple today? All right, come on, Nvidia, you can do it, man. Let's bring the pain. All right, back. There we go. That's a nice trade. That's for, honestly, we just shorted that up there on that 121. So let's just try to take advantage of it. And the reason why I'm saying like it's a nice trade is that it's moving $1.50 at a time. We have the top. We'll take $1 on that top piece and even a little bit more than that. So there it comes. Look, right back out again. So you got to take advantage, man. The best price we got there was only 120.13. Let's put some more at the 50 period.
Yeah, 121 is definitely resistance on this, and as long as it plays that range, we're going to go back and forth. AMD is about to get to us. We'll get from that. Sean's in the same trade, so I'm not going to go over it too much there. But AMD, might have been too late. It didn't quite break 161 to get a long off 160. It tagged 161 exactly, it looks like. So a big bounce there, both in the market and in AMD. We might have missed an opportunity there. I'm just going to go over to Tesla. That's still trading inside the range. Do not want to fight and test around with Tesla. GameStop, turns out the open was a sell, so that $26 level incoming. We're at 27.5. We're a stone's throw away. 26 was the bottom multiple times. Not just Friday, but you go back to the 5th, or I think it was. Just go back to last week. 26, big level. I think you're about to test it on GameStop any minute now. Looks like it's going to be a big one.
All right, so as of right now, we talked about this. Congratulations on CrowdStrike. I mean, we talked about this one having the legs, the chance to just continue to go for days. So there it goes, man. CrowdStrike with the inclusion. Great trade, breaking that top. That was a great top level break there of 372 and change. So, you know, we've seen it happen, and there it goes again. It's CrowdStrike, and it's fantastic. Nice move to the upside. All right, so we're now just again refused to break. This time we got a 120 flat fill, 120.06 there on Nvidia. And as it goes right back up to the upside, we're going to get stopped out at that day's high. So we'll see what winds up happening there on Nvidia. And then unfortunately, Apple just keeps on doing absolutely nothing. So we'll have to wait on that one. All right, let's go back over to GameStop right now. I mean, that's what people are looking for. So let's go over to it and see. All right, we're down to 27,
almost there.
27.50. So yeah, I mean, we could take a little bit of a shot here on GameStop if we wanted to. We are already bidding 27.25. So if we can get back into that area, I think that would be worth it for a little bit of a trade there on GME. I mean, it hasn't halted yet. It could halt if it really gets going right now, because it has been a straight downside move for GameStop. Now down. It was up, what, 7 or 8% at one point. Now down 2%. Looking to hold this level on Friday. That monster wick down there that happened at about 2:30 was 26 flat. I think it could probably hold till a 26 or so break on that one. Apple's getting spicy down to 196 again.
It just bounced off the quarters, Apple, anyways. So it looks like it's going deeper into that dip. You got 195.5 as well. That's going to be a support level, but it just saw the even dollar and made a bit of a bounce. If we get back to previous close, that's 196.80. I think that's a scalpable level, and we'll take a little bit out there. But it is starting to get a little bit heavy. GME isn't at that 26 yet, so I'm not jumping on the bid, but I think we're getting pretty darn close to wanting to exercise that long. Nvidia as well, starting to show a little bit of pep above that 120 level. Oh yeah, that's right. I have to zoom in the charts, you guys. Sorry about that. It's just our charts, that's how they are. So bouncing off VWAP and showing some pep. I'm on the offer trying to get more at 90. I'm going to cancel that. If we get back to the top, I think we want to look for that 120, 90, 121 even level. Just give it a little bit more to that high. AMD still trend down. I want to give it a chance to get into 160 and not jump too far out in front of this. When Nvidia is going up, AMD tends to be going to the downside, so I want to wait for that 160. Don't want to get in too early on AMD. It is falling, down 3.5%. Palantir, bit of a nothing burger. You know, I thought maybe we'd head to the downside, and then they get exuberant selling that one off. And they are not selling Palantir. So I guess they were pretty smart about it, the market.
Yep, exactly. All right, so what's up, Chef Joe? Yeah, look, we're trying to capture some of this profit here on Nvidia, but I don't know if it gets to that 118 you mentioned about that. MLGO halted right now. All right, 119.80. I mean, that's been the bottom. We just got out there again. So far, so good on this one. There's GameStop. We are now long on GameStop into this level. So here we go. Let's see what happens now. 27.25 long right now on GameStop. We'll see. Our out's going to be in and around that 26 area. Let's just hope it doesn't halt before we get down to there. It looks like we may do that, though, as here goes GameStop trying to pull rank and break down through this 27 area. So again, we'll put a stop. Breaking through 26 is the quits level for me on GME.
Speaking of quits, that move to the upside in Bitcoin's already happening. They did not go quits. There's your reverse at 240. Bitcoin's not at 70,000, but that's like a yet thing. It's like $400 away. So looking for a move. We said long off 240 if we did get that bounce in Bitcoin. So, already happened on Coinbase. Going to look for some lower highs in here. VWAP stands at 244. Apple's got to be the concern now because your 196 is incoming. So we'll look for Coinbase on dips. If 70,000 goes, we might have to take a breakout trade on Coinbase as we are getting very close. But there goes 196 on Apple. I'm slapping the fail. But we've still got hours until the event. So if it makes a bounce, there's a couple of levels left. 195.5 afternoon support on Friday. Brendo?
Little one, OPR. I mean, it's not terribly small, but 80 million market cap here. OPRA, Opera moving significantly higher to 17. I just went back to May. They actually announced a deal with Google Cloud back in May for this company, but some speculation floating around suggesting this company will have something to do with Apple's WWDC coming up later today.
Okay, that'll be interesting. Yeah, I think that's going to be another couple of plays that you can make on that, right? Is trying to figure out what companies are involved. Like, is there going to be an Adobe story there? Is there going to be something else involved at all? And that's the thing about them changing over some of their photoshopping and whatnot, to make it so much easier to crop and to do AI and to do all these things. Like, that's, to me, is really something that Apple's going to have to show about, right? So we're still long Apple here. Let's see what winds up happening. We like this 196 level, so we're long at too early, 196.70. We started the bidding early on Apple. We actually weren't able to get anything out except for the very beginning of the day. So, trying to play long into WWDC has not worked out for us. And as we said, if it breaks lower, we can get out of this trade. I'm still trying to think about a longer take on this. But again, if we can get back up to 30 where we just stopped out of, we didn't stop out, but that's where the move stopped, then I feel like that would be something to get rid of a little bit of shares and then just see what winds up happening. I mean, if it moons from here, great, but I don't really see the catalyst for it to do that right now. I thought it would have gone going earlier than this. All right, GameStop, it was kind of like a starter position there. I mean, we learned our lesson on Friday not to hammer into a lot of shares just on some sort of random prices, but 27 was the bottom for a minute, so now we'll wait to see. I mean, we sort of did this math there, and it's like, I'm using shares enough that if we break this 26 area, I'm just gonna punch out and it would be a hit, but something that's reasonable. So that's gonna be a level right there. If it breaks, then we'll get out. I mean, you could have your diamond hands and hold it forever, but until it halts, I don't really know the direction. I mean, the next sort of bottom area there, and if you zoom this in, you can see there is a lot of support down here. I mean, it's not like there's nothing from the other day. But then if you go back into the 4th, 5th, 6th earlier on last week, you do have 26 again holding, so that looks pretty good. So those are multiple levels and reasons why. And then after that gap, then you kind of go into 24 and change, which is not nice. So then you're like, okay, these are the areas that people potentially might throw in the towel. And then I wonder if it gets down even lower. But again, those of you that are all on the boards and all that kind of stuff will be able to know a little bit probably more about GameStop and what these posts and all that are going through. And then we'll wait ear to ground if there's another live stream or if something winds up happening there as well. So
there was rumors. I mean, I don't know. I'm like you said, other people have their ear to the ground better, but lots of people were expecting that there'd be another one in the future. He hinted at that, but I don't think it's imminent necessarily. I say him, you guys know we're talking about Roaring Kitty. So it's at 26.75. It's getting pretty close to the level I like. AMD just bounced off 61. I had a scalp long from one low to, it'll probably come out in a second here. As script order is, okay, you know what? I'm punching out. Because to me, it already ran the stop. I had it at 80, I looked over, I'm like, oh, no, that was mispriced, so I see 75s, I'm just going to punch out. We had a dip by 161 into 161.40, scalped some, and then now you're breaking back down. I don't know why I still have a small amount of shares, so just punch out the rest. Apple regained 196. I'm going to get to AMD, I'm going to get to GameStop in just a quick second. So AMD continuing its hammer to the downside. It's a huge mistake on my part, and I'm going to use this possibly as a lesson of the day. I knew I liked the long in Palantir. I was only thinking about the fact that they were selling it on that CrowdStrike thing, and I wasn't willing to just look for different types of longs. That was a mistake. We'll correct that next time. If it's going to trend up, the breakout of the pre-market high was 22.70. A dip into VWAP looks pretty good there on Palantir. So I think I was very inflexible with how I wanted to get the long in Palantir off that CrowdStrike news. So here comes VWAP in. Want to see it bounce first and get it on the other end. Apple, I got out when it lost the 96 level, and then it wicked the bottom, jumped back in when it held 196 the second time through. Nvidia is getting pretty close to that pre-market low, so it's about to break down 119.20. If it gets to support, I'm jumping out. That's 18.5.
All right, here we go, man. It's Nvidia, and we are in this one, man. 121 short. We're just capturing more and more profits on this name. It's going to be obviously the biggest name here today, but I mean, we also have Apple on, which isn't working out for us too well. Let's put some more bids down there. There it is, man. Take some more out. Take some more out. I mean, the market is coming in a little bit to 19,000. Take advantage of this crash there on Nvidia, and that's exactly what we did. Now, calling it a crash, it's definitely not a crash, but this is a big move for me. With the share sizes that we have on. So we'll definitely take this, put Nvidia in the pocket and see what winds up happening. All right, I didn't get that many shares long here on GameStop. I was waiting for 27.40s for some reason. 26.40, went down to 26.50 and stopped. I thought I was at 26.50, but doesn't matter. I just didn't get the shares there. I could have punched even longer there on GameStop. I mean, anybody could have. You had an unlimited amount of shares pretty much at any level for GameStop, especially when it's coming against you. So there's the reload there. It just goes up to 27.30s. We're trying to hold on to this one just to see where it goes. But so far, so good there on GME, on the hold of 26 as we talked about it. So let's see if it goes. We're now in the money on GME as it continues to go upside. Big trades, obviously, as we talked about that on Nvidia, as it comes right into the close of the day again. So here we go. Let's see if GameStop wants to rock and roll just a little bit now, breaking back above 27. It just got going there on that candle. Let's see if 28 can hold for GME. Apple's about to come out because it's breaking below now. Like 195.50 is kind of where we thought we would get out. We just talked about getting some out on the top side, which we did when it came back to 30s. So we save a little bit of money there, make good money on Nvidia, but lose even better money on Apple. So watch out for that one, and we'll see if GameStop wants to hold above 27. Getting close to getting punched out of Apple, breaking 195.50s.
Yeah, that last line in the sand is getting
Nvidia.
close. Nvidia is now
Here
down
we
through that
go.
119. I'm on the bid to take this 118.5. Into Palantir on the dip off of VWAP. We said we had to adjust our plan of action on Palantir because, you know, quite frankly, Palantir didn't want to get to the price that we wanted. So we're looking for a dip buy in Palantir instead. We are buying this one off of VWAP. Nvidia continues its tank. Hit enter like 3 times. There you go. Oh, we might have just missed it. I keep realizing I cannot zoom out. Sorry, guys. You guys know the prices. You can just adjust by taking out a 0. But 118.5 is my target zone on Nvidia. If we get a bounce from here, I'll probably get it out through that 19 even. So Nvidia, been a good one. I'm just going to take the 19 even. That was the level that we liked anyways. Apple's doing its best to bounce. So far, it's been pretty unsuccessful. We've tried it at multiple key levels. When it didn't hold 196.5, we had to get out. It then did not hold 196. Now we're in off the 195.5. So 3 separate stops. This is the big one because it was the big support in the afternoon for Apple. Brendo?
There was a note on Virtu this morning, VIRT, straight to the upside here. 23, I guess, 23 and change. 500 million in a private offering coming through for Virtu this morning, straight higher so far.
Okay, see. Okay. I mean, we just got 118.60 right there on Nvidia. So, I mean, here it comes in. This is exactly what dreams are made of today on NVDA with $3 now in the money and going lower. I mean, it's funny because I said this. We talked about this with Wayne earlier on in the play that we liked on Nvidia. They're coming back into 118. I mean, if we thought the 118 had a chance of hitting, then yeah, the short 121 ain't so bad after all. Here comes 118 again. Good call by Chef Joe there. I know you're riding it with me, so that was a good one. And there we go. We got it. So we got it. Everybody, we got it. There is another one for Nvidia. We told you this would be, I mean, again, trying to predict the future, not really, but we knew that AMD and Nvidia, especially Nvidia, would ramp up and be on your boys' list. So there it is right there. It's going to be P&L number one, obviously, as the only other trade we have is GameStop, which isn't moving, and then Apple, which is moving.
GameStop just got to 50 again.
Yep, against us. So we'll have to wait to see. Yeah, I'm bidding GameStop 27.50 exact, or sorry, 26.58 and didn't get filled. But right now, there it is, GameStop. Let's see what winds up happening with this move, hopefully back to the upside.
Yeah, I got a fill there at 33. I said 50s, 27.50. It's not quite getting to the level, and it just rejected it. But it bounced off of 26.5. I like 26 even, but we didn't get 26 even. So the first bounce was right here at 26.8. We just took some out, and we're going to try to rinse and repeat this. As long as we're over that 26 level, going to be looking for the dip buys. This is the level that we wanted on GME, but we'll slap the fail on Apple. Another level down. It's like multiple shots and only at the key levels. I've been getting flat multiple times. This is my worst stock this morning. Thankfully, we've been taking the outs on the way in. Otherwise, it'd be a heck of a lot.
There it is.
AMD also trying to make a bounce. Now 160 just hit. So 160 just bounced on AMD. We had the 61 bounce. It was a decent scalp trade. Then it broke the low. So we're looking for 160 now on Advanced Micro Devices. Remember, with them, they got a downgrade from it was Morgan Stanley was the catalyst, taking it down 4%.
$3 right now. Thank you, Mr. Westermeyer, in the chat there for bringing up this Nvidia trade. We just got a 118 flat fill down there, so that's going to be a good one for us to watch out. I did not go long. I'm still holding a small piece short of this. It came in pretty quick there. I mean, maybe now we can look at a 117 area for Nvidia, but this name came in pretty quick there to the downside, and as did Apple. So we will slap, obviously, a huge fail there on that one for Apple. GameStop, so far so good here. Let's see if we can really get going. We're waiting for 27.50, I believe. Yeah, 27.50. So that's sort of where we've stopped the last couple times. Maybe we could put something. I mean, we could put something at 27.25. No, that's not enough. I mean, we're not going to scalp GameStop for that. All right, let's see if it goes up now here. GME trying to get a move back in now on this one. So hopefully that will start to rip up. We'll be able to make back what we gave up in Apple there. But Nvidia really is the belle of the ball today as we go a little diamond handing right there. Now $3 in the money on this last piece of Nvidia, and it's going pretty good for your boy right now, as Apple is not. The other name to look at there for us would have been CrowdStrike, Apple, GameStop, AMD, but there goes Nvidia. Yeah, pounded alarm right now for that one. This is a big, big trade. What's up, Brando?
A small cap here. I'm not seeing too much in the way of news on this. There was a couple of cancer-related headlines last week, but biotech, RENB. Yeah, no red candles yet on a 3-minute chart for B, up 81% here.
No, really.
Bye to RenB, whatever that might be. There was a couple of other ones on our list that I didn't even see do much at the open, but that's the only one that's actually hit my halt stand, although there's this KWE thing, which is not a big deal. So a bit of a bounce off of Palantir's VWAP. 23 even was a rejected break right at the open, so scalping some out into the 23 even. We're going to hold through a break on Palantir. If GameStop... All right, if we get a higher low on GameStop off this 26, 30, or 50 level that's held, I want to look for an ad there. We're still thinking we can get down to 26. It is big time trend down for GME. So as long as it's trending down, I want to wait for 26. But the second we can start holding a higher low, I think the play's back into VWAP, at least for myself, but I have not gotten any kind of a reload in GME. Wow, Apple's about to get to 195 even, it looks like. And we mentioned Coinbase looking pretty strong. with Bitcoin trying to track to 70,000. No 70,000 yet. We actually just projected 69.5. So I'm going to back off until we test that level on Coinbase. So just Palantir that's holding out. GameStop still looking pretty good. And if GameStop does falter here, I think it's set up pretty well for a short on AMC. AMC's VWAP is exactly Friday's lows. So if GameStop were to falter here, I think you've got a nice little level at about 480 where you could take a short in AMC in sympathy. But not yet. As long as 26 is holding, I'm not going to take that short.
All right. Okay. Just posting this up because we're almost now $4 in the money on Nvidia. So $4 in the money. This is like a $40 winner if we had this the other day, right? So $40 now in the money on Nvidia. Obviously, it's $4. So we will wait to see now where we're going with this name. But again, man, I like the short. We talked about that, but we thought maybe it would hold at 118. But with the way this came in, we're still holding the short down here into 117 and change. You know, it could be a level, pre-adjusted level here on Nvidia. You know, 117 is held in the past. This could be a bouncing spot here for NVDA. It might be worth trying to take some of it off right now. Let's just do that, 117.50, 117.60. If we can end the trade down there, we just sort of saw potentially a bouncing spot there in and around 117. So let's just put it breaking through 180, 118, sorry, if it gets back up there. Let's just get out of it. 118 break higher, and we will exit out of NVDA. Good trade alert on that one. GameStop just keeps on failing at this exact same level again. So, you know, in spirit of getting some out at some point, you could if you wanted to. I'm going to wait to see what winds up happening here to the end of this day with GME. But for right now, 27 seems to be holding no halts. Decent volume going through, obviously, with 21 million shares. I'm still sitting here at 27.50 to try to take 40 cents or 35 cents. And then that's just on like 10% of it. Hopefully we can get back up into 28, and then we'll see. Honestly, if we can get 28, 28.50, I think that's a pretty decent move considering the price of the stock. So there goes Nvidia breaking now back above 118. We'll end that trade with a monster. So that was a good one there. Let's now see if we can get a little bit long. We'll go long now on Nvidia because we do like the 118 level against that 117 bottom. So that's what we'll try now with Nvidia by going long. Let's see if we can bank on both sides of this trade.
Yeah, great look there. I got my GameStop locates, and I just realized I had to get my AMC ones as well. So I just went and paid for those. AMC's starting to test that 480 while GameStop's still trending lower. AMD, on the other hand, this 160 bounce is starting to look very, very juicy down here. Still only in the two longs, one of them being GameStop, and then, of course, Palantir trying to hold on to VWAP. It's testing back and forth off VWAP. I might reload it at another time, but if the market bounces without Palantir, we're at 19,000. Now would be the time to go. So if you're not going to go now, then you're not going to go. So that 120, that 23 level, that's where we're looking for next. We've got 79s long in here. It's trying to break higher. It is a sympathy play. CrowdStrike went into the S&P 500. They didn't. So that's why everyone sold them off. So it seems like that was a bit of an overreaction in my estimation. Couldn't buy the dip, so we had to buy the dip into VWAP.
I mean, look what we just did. I mean, now we're long 118. We just got out at 118.50 right there for 20%. So we flip the long right there and get out at 50s on Nvidia, and here it goes again. Let's go. Like, what exactly? You want to talk about real trading, guys? Let's put that through right there, going short for $4, then flipping back into the long for another 75 cents and just racking it up. Like, the whole move right here was $4 to the downside, and we'll just take another 75 cents right. Actually, did we get 80s? I don't even know what we got right there. 75. So nice little move back in on that one. Let's see if we can't keep the momentum going now on NVDA. Hopefully still climbing higher on NVIDIA. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if it does fail out here. We've looked at 118. We've looked at the futures. The futures trying to hold out hope right now at 19,000. And again, that may not come in as well. So we'll wait to see here on NVIDIA. It's obviously a huge move up. That's 119, 119.50. Let's just stay at 119 right now. If we could take $1 on this one back in again, I mean, all it's really doing is doing this So we'll take that over and over and over again here on the day. So far, so good. You know, we'd like to have a little bit more movement here, but for now, it is a pretty good trade there with Nvidia back and forth. So thank you so much, Adam. Thank you so much, Chef Joe. Thank you so much, Greg R. Everybody on there, all in the chat. And again, I know you guys can see sort of what we're doing there. Thank you so much for Timon as well on there. Everybody that's loving those trades. I mean, I like that trade, and I hope you guys have it, and hopefully you like it as well. And then GameStop right now, this is the one that just keeps on doing GameStop-y things. Like, that's 27.40 bouncing around. And I kind of say that tongue in cheek because it's not doing GameStop things at all. I mean, this is trading like a normal stock where it's just trying to figure itself out. It's going to break one way or the other. My bet is the long, but the long hasn't been right the last couple days. Let's see if it can get right today as we are just chilling. And there goes Nvidia, another 50-cent winner. John Travolta's like, huh? What exactly is going on over here with NVDA today? Well, it's split and it's a banger. It's Nvidia 118 and change. So we'll see.
I love the fact that GameStop's trading like a normal stock. No halts, no garbage. You don't have to worry about the time when in the middle of the day we get a random call. But we said let's look for a higher low, either 26 or higher low. Right at 27 even, you got a wick at 27 even. It regains at 27 even, so we reload it right at that price. That's where we wanted it. Grab some out in front of the resistance level, and now let's see how far this thing can go. So it's made that higher low. You wanted the reversal off 26. It doesn't get to exactly $26. Sometimes you've got to be able to play the pattern. I think you've got a decent bottom here, at least temporarily. If it rolls over, the short I'd want to be in like AMC. So I do have AMC locked and loaded, paid for those locates, but let's get to the desk. It's already 10 o'clock. What's happening now, Brendo?
Yeah, markets overall back to the downside here ever so slightly. We're trying to hold on to pre-market support. Could be, I zoomed out a little bit here. This is the Qs. Could be a bit of a wait and see type of a situation ahead of what is to come later in the week. Remember, Wednesday, the big day, we get CPI in the morning. We get Fed Chair Powell coming through in the afternoon on Wednesday. So could be a bit of a wait and see. Remember, both Canada and the EU coming through with rate cuts last week. No one expecting that Fed Chair Powell will follow suit, but it'll be interesting to see what he has to say. CSSEL, little penny stock, just ripping up here on a scanner in front of me. 420% right now. Just went from 1 cent to 4 cents on huge volume. Still haven't found the reason why. Walmart, as I mentioned, up on a JP Morgan upgrade this morning. It did fade that, but holding on to the gap right now. Retail stocks across the board, one of the strongest areas of the market overall. I noticed Tesla going red to green and then green to red, all in the same 5 minutes or so. So it did try to get positive there, but back downside right now. That's the 10-year. It's worth noting. Yields back higher, the dollar back higher 2 days in a row here. This is a daily chart, so huge move up on the jobs data last week to end the week, and then second day in a row here potentially for the 10-year, guys. So yields, the dollar, both higher to start.
Yes, sir. And right back to the top end of the range for PLTR. It is down into this. It's got a nice little pattern. There's your breakout. There's your hold of higher lows. How many times it's going to get VWAP is always up in the air. So 23 evens about to come in. I'm getting on the offer at 99. Palantir usually has size on the offer at an even dollar level. I'd say today, not much, a few thousand shares. Like, there's no $250,000 share orders or anything like that on 23 even, and it did already break once, but I'm still going to take another leg out here at that 99. GameStop did make a push through 27.50, then immediately rejected it. So that's not a very bullish sign. That kind of a rejection, let me just get on over to AMC to show you what I'm thinking here, because of rejection at VWAP on AMC, and I'm going to take a shot underneath VWAP on this. I think if you can short this one, give it to VWAP, just a sympathy play on AMC. So still just in Palantir. GameStop has size on the bid at 27. For now, it is holding that level, but I don't think it's going to last very long.
All right, yeah, we actually took some profit there on GameStop, obviously, as we talked about that, that we were waiting at 27.50, and we're taking some nice profit as well here on Nvidia. But it just went up to 119, and we were at 119 flat. It went to 118. 85 or so there. So a little bit of a dangerous spot, definitely for Nvidia shareholders, as we just bounced off of that 119. So I would have rather seen that one hold and then hit higher through there as we're trying to get back through VWAP. So just something to look for there on NVDA, hopefully coming back in just a little bit. And then GameStop, this is what we dealt with. I mean, we waited at 50. My next out was at 28 flat. The best we got to was 85s there. So we'll take advantage of that for now, but not enough, right? I mean, you never ever get enough shares. So we'll have to wait to see now what happens with GameStop breaking back below 27 right now. And then Nvidia, okay, hovering around again. Why don't we just take another piece here and let's just do it at 75 instead of waiting for 119. So we'll take a 25-cent haircut or so on the last piece there just to make sure that we get some out. The market is doing absolutely nothing here right now at 19,000. So for me, that's a little bit of a pause for concern, right? I mean, I'd rather have the market ripping up if we're going to be longs. GameStop, so far, let's go. Still a good trade here for GME. We just bounced off 26.50 again. Let's see if it gets through 28 this time. That's where we're sitting with the offer on GameStop.
Oh my goodness, AMD's just bounced through VWAP already. So it's at 62s. We're not going to get that dip buy. You can pretty much put a fork in it. If it holds VWAP in here, we maybe join it off of this higher low. GME's still trying to go here. I just want to get over to Apple. I don't want to ignore them. This is now 2 times break of 195 with a reclaim. So it got down to 194.92 twice. The second time, technically like a couple of cents off of the low, and trying to hold on to 195 even. So this is looking a little bit better. I know it's a weak stock going into the event. Still want to be the dip buy. I think it's a sell the event maybe later on. Clearly it happened here, so I'll slap the fail on trying to dip buy. But if 95 can hold, it's obviously a big psychological level as well on Apple. Rivian Millionaire, you're right, ARM is flying. I wanted to get to that in Micron in a quick little second, but this 195 on Apple first.
Yeah, we're long on Apple, so yeah, we'll see if that works out. All right, so we are long at 27.15 here on GameStop, trying to see about that, right? I mean, let's go. We're long at 27. Let's go. Just now touching 27.50. Hopefully this name can fly upside. Would love some kind of an upside halt, but again, barring any real catalyst here for GameStop, I don't know. I mean, you know, it's trying to hold these bottoms. We've done well by buying the dip here. It's going to be a well-up name for us at these levels. But maybe we just take another piece here at 44.48. Why don't we just try to do that in and around 50 and see if somehow that one will pay out for us. Well, now there's a decent, not decent, that's somewhat sized, 30,000. There it goes, upside there. We'll take another fill right there. It's not really a face slapper, but it's a money maker. So we'll wait to see what happens there for GameStop now as it's trying to go back up. I might just cancel my 28 and see if we can really get going. Here it is. It's GameStop, and it's trying to lift up spirits. Let's go what happens right now with GameStop. 27.60 and change. Again, nowhere near a halt. It's going to have to move 10%. We're not anywhere near doing anything
doing on 5%.
Yeah, we're not doing anything like that right now. It halts at 5%?
I was looking back at the halts from early last week, and it was halting on 5% move.
Is that what it's supposed to do?
I had to double check because I don't think it's supposed to. But that one that we were all confused about at the open on Thursday, I want to say it was. Right. It might have been Wednesday. It doesn't really matter.
Look at that video.
It was a 5% move. I just got out at 28, so it was a long way of saying I'm taking that out. It just hasn't been necessarily strong enough. And if it breaks that 28,
boom,
I think that's a pretty big level. We kind of talked about these big, like it closed at $28. It's resisting 28. There's room to 32. If we get a higher low or something like that, we'll find our way back into it. GameStop is trading like a normal stock. It's not halting. There's going to be opportunities to buy dips. Higher lows, that'll put 27 right back into play for me. Palantir did make the break of 23. As I said, I'm going to have to re-examine why I didn't want to just go long Palantir right away. I didn't think that being down just because they didn't get added to the S&P 500 was necessarily a good enough thing. But I was looking for a deep dip buy on Palantir. Instead of maybe just I could have taken this breakout in hindsight. That being 2020, join the trend. You miss the first trade, make the second trade. Because if you sit there crying about it because you don't have the long that you want, you're not going to get a long at all in the stock. If it goes green, I'd be somewhat surprised because the market's doing nothing. So 23, 30 in here would be the out. Next stop, got to get to like 15s, get some out in the teens, and we'll get all out in front of yesterday's close, or Friday's close.
All right, I mean, we're putting some damage on the board here. There's GameStop again. We'll take another fill here at 28. So we're long. I mean, that's going to be, $1 on GameStop. I mean, we're at 28 bucks. As long as it breaks through that, we're long at 27.08 right now. So far so good there on GME. And again, you guys saw me trading this on Friday, and there was many traders out there that were like, let's stay away from it today on the chat. But, you got to get back in there and play off some levels that you like. And I like that level for GameStop. So I played off of it, right? So let's wait to see if there's any sort of profitability in doing that. I hope so. So that's going to be GameStop for me here today, starting to run. All right, Apple, I don't know. I'm going to take a little piece out here at 09s if we can. We're long right here at 09. We had to play the dip buy opportunities here in Apple. What am I doing? I'm not getting out at 09. We're at 20s right now for Apple. So let's see if it goes. I don't know. We're trying to play off that bottom. It's one good story here, one good leak, or one good someone wanting to buy something ahead of WWDC, and maybe it starts to go back up, but we've been dead wrong today on Apple, so don't take my word for it on this one. That is for sure. We'll rock GameStop, we'll rock Nvidia, but Apple will rock us. So we will wait to see what happens here now with AAPL, and I'm hoping it's quite simple, an upside move against that most recent bottom, but it's not really hitting with volume, and honestly, trying to play it one last time. There's the wick. I mean, realistically, the 20 period, like 194, 194.50, 193. And I even said this on Friday, which I hate going against like stuff that ideas that I've had in the past. By the way, right now, we have a dollar club right now on Nvidia, reverse dollar club. So that's now $6 on this name, short to top, top to bottom there. Okay, Apple's going. What I was going to say about GameStop or whatever I was talking about there is you got to leave a little bit of room to breathe here. So just like that Apple trade, 193.50 is way too far down. We're going to get out if it breaks the low of the day, and there's our fill here. Up at 20s, we'll cancel the 20s because we took 16s. So now let's wait to see. Maybe Apple goes higher. We won't make back what we lost, but we're making back a little bit here on AAPL.
Yeah, it's looking pretty strong. Guess what just happened on the NASDAQ? Not only did we hold 19,000, you've just gotten back to the opening range top. Like right at the open, we got to 190, so 19,025. A chance to break that off the top. I think the longs are going to start to look a heck of a lot better across the board with the entire market bouncing off that big 19,000 level. Just tracking back into some names. I'm only in Palantir at this point, holding on to this long. Meta's breaking it out. That's a big, strong one. Up, it was never really down, so it's been one of the stronger names. Just remember, rejected 500 twice Friday and then again on Thursday, so I think that can be a fade zone at that 500 level. And then one we forgot about, shout out to you, Luke Doyle, in the chat. It's still looking good in the hood for Robinhood, bouncing nicely off that $22 level. This looks exactly like the Palantir chart that we're watching, so I want to get back over to this long. I looked at this. I had 2240 marked off. We like Palantir a little bit better, and it's holding that bid. If it gifts us with VWAP again, I want to join this trend. It was great last week. Ultimately, Apple, I'm not going to be mad trading on WWDC, but if you went with some of the levels from last week and the stocks we liked last week, you just go right back to the well.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we did. So, yeah, thanks for that, Neil. Nice move there, 195 long. So that's exactly what we did. We stuck with sort of Apple. We knew we liked the stock. We obviously got it a little bit early. So there's 50 cents back in on Apple. There's $1.50 right now on Nvidia and 70 cents so far on GameStop. So now we're really cooking here with gas. So let's go, man. Maybe we can get this upside move that we've been waiting for. We just took some more out of Apple right here. Nvidia, I mean, we could take another 119. We got as high right there as the 50-period moving average. So again, I just hope that you guys could see, and you already know about Real Trading. We've talked about that. It's the prop floor that we are on, our #1 sponsor. But what else is this? I mean, this is short boom, long boom, exactly as written down here on the note. I can barely feel my hands in here today. There we go. That's a nice move right there back up. And we get more water. So shout out to Hydration Nation and Shakib and all of that. We've made back more than half easily of what we've lost here on Apple, right there with the rest of the stocks. But Apple's trying to go back up, 195, 196, I mean, would be a great level. We were unable to get out of our long. We got some out at 196.30s and maybe a little bit higher than that. But after that, it was a drop zone right into 195.50 for the big L right there on that. We did get that Nvidia cover, some more at 119. This name is very, very violent, moving around there. That is NVDA, and GameStop's just chilling. So yeah, man, we are we're putting some stuff on the board here this morning, and hopefully we'll be able to continue to do that as we await. I'm excited for WWDC, just for anything to see, what kind of products are going to come from that. I think it's going to be super, super exciting, and that's going to be good. So we'll wait to see here. We do have our stop on Apple, and we are starting to get more out. We're out of about 40% here as we tick for 50 cents.
Yeah, it's looking pretty solid up there for Apple. It's a long way away from the event, so I'm not worried too much about any kind of sell-off into it until we get to like noon, and then you might want to be careful about positions. Nvidia is getting a VWAP and starting a little bit of a curl. I promised we'd talk about ARM, so I want to get to what has been just as strong of a move. Now, try to keep in mind here, positivity for Apple is good for Qualcomm, and anything good in handsets is good for ARM. It's that simple. Their technology is in every single smartphone, okay, like 98 point whatever percent. So they are strong to the upside, regardless of what's happening with Apple. It was a huge reject at 140 and then the 139 levels on Friday. So I think you can probably ride that at least into that 140. I'd be looking for some kind of a curl. ARM tends to do on these big rallies pullbacks after 10:30, 11 o'clock into the lunchtime for ARM. So I did not get any Robinhood yet. I'm on the bid trying to grab some. Palantir is starting to come back after getting through that 23 level. So maybe we get VWAP, maybe we get a higher low. I want to look to get the dip buy. I did miss the second shot off VWAP. If it does a third, I want to be able to grab that as well. AMD, yeah, I can slap the fit. We had one scalp trade off 161, then we didn't get the 160 when it eventually came in. It's still trending into the upside. If we hold 19,000, I think you got to look at VWAP for AMD. Bit of a missed opportunity down at that 196, and then you just want to adjust. Always adjust to the market. Don't necessarily get married to the prices that you wanted. We'd never get Palantir if that was the case, so you've got to be able to do it. GME, still not back in. I took the out in front of that high at 28 even. It's holding consolidation here at 28. So there was no pullback into 27 again. I think a higher low is still being tested here at 27.5. I'm not in any shorts in AMC yet. I want to see this breaking down before I take a shot at something like an AMC short. But it's holding VWAP. The longer it does that, I might have to do some scalp trading in AMC. Because if you were just scalp trading AMC, it hasn't been good. It just put a wick, failing pre-market highs. So a bit of resistance coming into AMC, which is oddly stronger than GameStop right now. That's the only reason I'm not short it. For some reason, it's still trending up.
All right. Just looking around here, we do have
That's interesting.
GameStop. Again, we're still looking at it. We're waiting for it to do something a little bit bigger. We only have now 20% of Nvidia left. So, oops, that chart looks funny because, again, of the split. So it comes right back up. So I think like now, we could probably get out if it breaks 118. That's 117.80. Let's just put a stop there. Actually, we don't have very many shares. All right, if it falls back in, let's just, well, you know what? Whoopsies, we're not going to be silly about it. We'll just cancel our other stop because our stop is a little bit lower than where we are right now on Nvidia. So let's just put this out right now so you guys can see 117.84 as a stop there for Nvidia. We won't be buying much back here at 118. If it drops lower, that's where I want it. That is Nvidia. All right, what's up, Brendo?
Very light on the volume side of things, but shout out to Michael Moss. He mentioned it in the pre-market. If anyone was with us, 8:30 to 9:30 now. 4%, guys, straight to the upside here for Crocs today. You hear what they
Yeah, good look on Crocs there. Okay, so I'll quickly show you now into the short on AMC. There was just a pullback on GameStop. It's going to be easier to just pull over the black chart for you guys and show them side by side. So there you go. This is that 28 resistance, which is just continuously being put in. I jumped out of the long there. You just made another test of the high as that ticked down. So simple play. If we break a fresh high, I'm out. It's literally like 3 cents worth of risk. But when that big candle just happened into the downside on GameStop, I took the opportunity to jump into the short. On AMC, I'll get to AMC. Just going to get my stop in there, and we'll get to AMD in a quick little second. I still think AMD is going to go in different directions from what's been happening in Nvidia. But Nvidia and AMD both made bounces. Want to look for Nvidia to start breaking down a little bit more before looking for a long on AMD. I like it better when you can play them off one another. I don't care which direction. I mean, when they work together, they work together. And if they want to work apart, then I want to look for entries that way. So I'm going to get a bid on VWAP or in and around VWAP to take some scalp trades out. And if we break the bottom on GameStop, I'll try to hold a piece of AMC, which has been pretty strong to this point. Down 1%, but that's because it was down overnight.
All right, so we've been able to be pretty lucky here and get out of the Apple when it was ripping. And right now, it's not doing a whole heck of a lot. Oh, wow. Thank you, Randy, with Apple. So we'll go buy this 195 dip again. Get some out here at 195.10, 195.09. But this is GameStop right here, Randy, that we're talking about right there. A nice move down into 27 and some outs there at 28 or so. But this is what's making the money right now. And it's a hot dog cannon kind of a day right there. As there goes Apple right back into 195. We got killed on it early, Randy, but we bought it a couple more times down here at 195. So there it is again. Let's put some more out. As it comes back up, it comes back down. We have WWDC today where they'll announce iOS 18 and figure out what is good with that. So we're excited to play off some longs here. But hey, the long may not be right. Nvidia was a hell of a day today, Randy, because we split 10-1. So we're tired of talking about Nvidia at 1200. We can now talk about it right here at 118. And Randy, we had the 121 short covered there at 118 for $3 right there. So that was a good trade. And then we bought 118 back to the upside and took $1 on that because Randy, as you know, and I know you're one of the biggest fans of this, the sticky note has it written down right here at 118 for Nvidia long. So we absolutely nail that to the wall, back and forth. What is that, Randy?
That's a brisket trade.
That could be a brisket. That's a very briskety trade right there. Yeah,
Brisket's like the pokeroo around here for me.
And it's getting a lot more briskety right now because there goes Nvidia even more, Randy. So yes, it is a brisket kind of trade as Nvidia now going $1.30 in the money over here right now. Neil, you got any brisket trades over there?
Oh, we've had a few. Like the only thing that stunk is Apple. AMC already starting to work. AMD were up. GameStop was good. Nvidia was positive. Palantir's been positive. It's just Apple, but I feel like Apple I feel like, GameStop on Friday. I feel the same way about Apple. It's WDC day today. I mean, you're going to take your shot on it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's not as if it's not going to be a big volume name. So the opportunity was always going to be there. So I'll slap to fail on Apple. We just gave the logic and what we're looking for in this AMC trade. When we saw GameStop, just to go back over, GameStop did this candle off of 28, bit of a return. So we short this off of this high. That's a short at 88. That high is 90. So we're literally risking to 91. And it's right down in here to 480. So pretty simplistic idea there with AMC. If it bounces back higher, it's a limited amount of risk. And we're able to just watch GameStop to take that trade. We haven't traded a lot of small cap names. These are the only two. AMC and GameStop. But let's see what others might be moving at the desk with the small cap recap. Brendo.
That's good. I can barely.
Yeah, pretty quiet so far. As far as small caps are concerned, there are a few moving around. You saw that HOVR moved back on Friday. A couple of announcements that this company made, but this is a electric eVTOL vertical takeoff and landing. It's tough to see, but this is a crazy looking airplane with all kinds of drone-esque capabilities that I was just reading about. So that was a part of the announcement for this thing back on Friday. It's faded this gap, but heading back towards $1 here, trying to hold for support, still up huge. For that one, MLGO, we mentioned, halted a couple of times on the way to 650, coming off in a hurry here, volume dying, still up 20%. DSY, another one. Not finding too much on this as to why, but a huge move for this one initially this morning. Trying to hold $4 right now for DSY, guys.
Much, Brendan. And right now we come back to another $2 winner on Nvidia. I mean, honestly, guys, $40 winner post-split to the downside, pre-split. We had 121 down to 117.50. So I guess that was about 250 there. And then right here, back upside on the 118 long. Now $2 back into the money on that one. So Kathy, look, I'd love to be employed and everything like that, but if you're compensation involves stock, we'll pass. But right there, nice move back up to the upside. I got you, Kathy. Don't worry, we'll talk. And we also bought Apple as well down there again. We'll just keep on getting a little bit out here if we can. I mean, I want to wait for a much bigger move in Apple, but it doesn't seem like it wants to give it to us. We'll bleed back some of that money that we lost early and get that back in. So right now, we're just holding GameStop long, $2 winner in Nvidia after already taking $4 this way downside. Well, we only took $3, but nice move downside. And then this move right now back up. We'll see if it can take out 121. No reloads, no nothing. We're completely fine, man. We're just, Nvidia is so free money right now, says the chat. So yeah, I mean, Nvidia is by far the number one stock P&L wise of the day. It's not even close. And as Neil's mentioned as well, the number one red name on the day, not even close, is Apple. So we'll go 2 for 3 here with GameStop and Nvidia, but Apple has been the damper for me there. But we still got a position now, trying to get this back into 196. If that can happen, then our day will turn itself around on the name. But for now, Apple has been a POS.
Well, I mean, Apple's still Apple. It's been a frustrating stock today, but you know what? We know these events always give trading opportunities. So regardless of whatever your day has been on Apple, at 1 o'clock, all things can change, maybe 1:30, 2 o'clock, who knows, depending on your reaction. I like trading it not into the event. I like trading it after it's made some moves. So I'll probably be more interested in like 1:30, 2 o'clock. That hover stock, I see people joking around in the chat. I'd never get in one of those. Those don't look safe. Regardless of what you think of them, you know, they're all these. It's a future. I tend to think there's way better. It's more like helicopters. I see these as like replacing helicopters for like rich people to get around. I just don't see like everyone having one of these in their house and then flying. I just see it as like if you're rich, you can commute, and they'll like air taxis for the rich, kind of like helicopters are. But the $1 level here on hover, I mean, it's held 5-6 times down here, like right at $1. So I love these levels when they hold. It's got a lot of pressure underneath it, maybe a bit of a scalp trade in a 110 to 115. I haven't paid for locates. I tend to like to be able to, you know, have the flexibility to flip on a level like this. So I'm going to probably pay for locates on hover, but it bounces one more time off $1, and I'll probably have 2s or maybe like some 3s long with a stop out underneath that. So I haven't really looked at any of these yet today. And then we just saw that with Brendan, this one bouncing off $1. Maybe we get a fill, maybe we don't. But I do want to have locates just so I can take the back end of the trade, if it does happen. Still getting a bit of a bounce off AMC and VWAP here, and that's with GameStop starting to go back up. So if GameStop makes another push higher, I should be out on the bid again in front of VWAP just to take some out here on on AMC. So we did get that top when GameStop curled, but now you're holding higher lows, and GameStop's hunting for that 28 top. If we break the top on GME, I might just punch out of AMC altogether. Easy out there. We can be in the money with GameStop breaking out and using that as the futures. As far as Palantir goes, it's been a good one, but this just happened. I tried to grab the dip into VWAP, just barely missed it. Cancel that. Like, we didn't get it on the way back up. Still waiting around for VWAP. It is trending to the upside. Maybe it goes green today. I'd like to hopefully get one more dip buy in there before it is able to go green. And if you're wondering why we're trading this, it's just everybody's disappointment that they didn't go in and CrowdStrike did. Crowd up 8.5%. I think it got to 10% and then just stopped. It seems to look like.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, maybe actually might have been even more than that. It was more than 10%. I think it was like 11% to the upside, and it just kind of stopped. Great upward trend. Maybe this is a breakout through 380, but I'm trading Palantir. I just like Palantir a little bit better. And an oldie, and hopefully going to be a goodie. The market's looking strong. Intel is right at pre-market or opening range tops. If we fail this high, I do like the shorts in front of 31 on Intel. Generally speaking, that's been the level to wait for. But if we curl right here off the opening range, I'd look for a fade trade on this. Just not nearly as strong as some of the other names that I'm sort of seeing. And when I look at it on the daily chart, this is the range on Intel. And if a stock is doing this and you get a chance to short it off the highs, look at how tight the range is. Range-bound trade, short the top, long the bottom. You're not getting along the bottom unless drastic things happen. So I'm popping on the offer here of INTC for the first time.
All right. My daughter's at Microsoft head office today, downtown Toronto, so that's pretty exciting for her. She's really excited to do that. For 9 years old, going to that. She's in a club that's called Girls Who Game. So they do all this stuff, and they're going to Microsoft head office today. And it's too bad about we're not trading Microsoft, but we'll trade Apple and get that money right back into it again. I mean, the positions that we have on right now, GameStop, 40 cents of the money, Nvidia, $3, almost $3, now $2.50, as we just touched 120.50 right there for Nvidia, which is an absolute monster of a name right there today. Like I said to you guys, I mean, in predicting the future, let's be honest, I said Nvidia will be my #1 name probably the rest of the year. And right there, it starts off today with the #1 P&L name. I think it might be on the whole floor. I can double check to see if there's a name bigger than this one so far. There might have been CrowdStrike, as we mentioned. Yeah, CrowdStrike. So CrowdStrike is going to be the #1 name on the floor today, P&L-wise. But Nvidia is #2, of course, as it's just hovering there. And then the #1 losing stock, and I'll have to double check this as well. But if I lose on it, then it's pretty much game over for P&L-wise. There it goes up to the upside right now. We're taking more out right here, but it has not been a fantastic stock. We've made back more than half of the loss now on Apple across the board. So we'll see if Nvidia can hold, if GameStop can hold. And then honestly, I don't think the Apple story is done. We're still long this one and looking for some more opportunities. I wanted to also look at Amazon, but before we do that, let's figure this out. All right, what's for lunch? Amazon just continues to go, by the way. I mean, you could probably order your lunch on Amazon. I don't know if they have exactly fresh food here in Canada, but I knew they do there in the United States. But there goes Amazon straight up through 186, looking to break higher. But what's for lunch right now? If you said chicken breast, guess what? You are going to be accurate. Not only did you get the cut of meat right, but you also got the meat. It is chicken breast, and today it is herbed with lemon, so that's nice, along with steamed rice and mixed vegetables. So it's okay, more of a dinner than a lunch, but that is what's for lunch today, barbecued up, not by myself, but by the caterers. And then right here, right now, there goes Apple again. Let's go. I mean, a nice little move to the upside. I called DraftKings a generational buy down there, and we did buy some when DraftKings was back in here at these lows, not even these lows. It was $10, $11, $12. I got out early on DraftKings in and around this area, right where it is right now, $35, $36. When it busted up to here, fell back, then took that level the second time. This is where I wound up getting out of DraftKings, so I did not take this name completely northbound up to 50, wondering if this is a better opportunity right now to put some more money to work in DKNG on an upgrade today. Again, I don't take what Morgan Stanley says at all even seriously, but DraftKings, ever since that Carvana, but DraftKings, I like the name, and I feel that this is something here that we could take advantage of, obviously, for many, many decades.
You didn't short Carvana to $1?
No, DKNG, no. No, I did not, unfortunately. I wish I would have, of course. Yeah, but DraftKings right there, holding out at 37, needs to get back down to 37.20. But a trade idea nonetheless, DKNG. And there's 70 cents on Apple. Let's just take another piece out. The fact that we've made this money back off that 195 bottom there has been pretty good. So let's just wait for it. There we go. We just got a piece out there at 68. We'll keep going higher, just piecing it out on the way back up as we hope for higher highs.
Which it's trying to do. The market's breaking out the top here pretty decently. GameStop, I still think we can maybe get a couple more shots at this to the long side, but suddenly not looking nearly as strong. I have one more bid to try to get that's not low of the day on GameStop or on AMC. The newest position was Intel. The market breaking higher, that's actually holding the high. But I'm going to back off. I don't think I'm buying this 27. We're going to wait for 26. This is still trend down here on GME. And as long as it's going to trend down, I think you got to be patient. Maybe there's a breakthrough 28 that we can try to join. But this feels like it's a little bit heavy. Down 3.5%, a little bit disappointing action here on GameStop. I had mentioned ARM. being a strong one. There's the next move up. I said late in the day or later in the morning, you look for the fades on ARM. So there's the final press, maybe the final press into the 140 level for ARM. This is where it rejected on Friday. So I'm going to go ahead and pay for some locates. Looks like it just failed the $140 level. I don't want to say fail. Fail's probably the wrong term. Just wicked the $140 level. I'm going to try and get short on the way back through. We pay next to nothing for ARM shorts. They're like a fraction of 1 cent, but we still have to pay for them here at Real Trading. Just about everything we can short. Sometimes it's like kind of a marginal fee that you will pay.
Yep, exactly. It was very, very cheap for GameStop and very cheap for AMC and very cheap for everything. Pretty much here. We are, as Neil said, pretty lucky, definitely, to be able to get some of those available shorts. All right, so anything else you guys want us to talk about? Because honestly, man, Nvidia's $2. GameStop is hot right now. We can look at ARM for a minute if you guys want to do that. Let's have a quick look at ARM. Some people in the chat looking at it. Again, a big name. I mean, I really like this name moving forward. Wow, we are honestly, we've been putting up some damage here, man. Like if you again, that first trade on Apple, we've talked about it, but being able to buy 3 times down here at 195 has eased the pain right here today. And then doing this on Nvidia has eased the pain there today. And being able to trade GameStop properly is definitely a little bit of a better move here in for today. We said we look at ARM, so let's just do that real quick. Sorry, the net just jumped there on Apple, and I was like, okay, we're doing better than I thought there today. But look at ARM. I mean, off of that earnings report, basically, other than Lululemon, if you bought pretty much most of the disappointing earnings, they on quality companies, they've bounced back. We called that $100 move. I mean, it's $100 now. There's no way I thought CrowdStrike was going to be up where it is now. But again, buy them on bad earnings. We talked about that. We talked about Salesforce down to the downside on earnings as well coming through. So I thought Salesforce is a New York name. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Yes, it is. So right there on Salesforce, right? There's the move down 215. There's the bump back. I should watch what I say on Lulu because they could, oopsies, I was more talking about that quarter,
it has bounced
2 quarters ago.
2 quarters ago.
Yeah, so let's see what Lulu's bouncing action is. It did give some back. That's. Oh yeah, it didn't really bounce at all right now. So again, 300 to 315 right now. Huge bounce on that day of earnings. And then since then, man, just absolutely wrecked back down to the downside. So some earnings plays are breathing a little life into themselves after earnings, but most of them, like guys mentioned, is you bought a high quality company, it's tried to hold some of those bids, right? And it's like, here's another one, Foot Locker, completely beat up. We know we don't absolutely love this name. Huge move up on earnings, and since then, 5 or 6 straight negative days back down to the downside. So yeah, just you know, make sure that if you're looking in and around trying to pick up some good value names, especially on bad reports, make sure you go over to the names that we like. I mean, the minute we sold Meta and it went down to that price, we were like, oh my God, we should probably be buying this back up. And now all of a sudden Meta, which I love, I think is one of the best mega cap tech names out there, just makes its way all the way back from 420 all the way back into $5 in like a month. Like, that's a huge move, man. April 25th, earnings report all the way back up. And obviously, it's early June right now. So May, June, and a bit, give it 5 or 6 weeks to make it all the way back and now starting to go higher, let alone what Apple's been doing, let alone Nvidia and all these major tech names, sans Apple, sans AMD, and then like we mentioned there, Lululemon, and unfortunately, CRM. So, yeah, you know, Uber as well. I mean, I think that's another name that we could probably buy on some dips.
Yeah, we had that lift, uplift and lift, which got sold off right away when they gave a little bit of an update. And I like on that day, I'm like, this doesn't look any better than Uber.
Right.
I just don't see it, and then Lyft went up anyways. SMC, look, there's a lot of big chip names that are going up, so appreciate everybody in the chat bringing them all up. So you can, whether it's ARM or Micron's having a strong day today, AMD's having a strong day today, Nvidia getting back into the upside, SMCI's up 4% and hunting for 800 even. So 800 even, psychologically, it's a big one on this name. Just I always zoom out for everybody. Just when you see this 800, it hasn't actually been that big of a level. That said, when it broke 800 downside, it was a huge flush. That was the Thursday level that died. and then will support on the day before. So this actually feels significant on this name. I'm just, like, Intel's going sideways, which I suppose is a good thing when the market's going up, but it's not doing anything. Like, I feel like it should be, when it's weak, like, I get this high in here, like, it should be testing back into VWAP, so there's not gonna be any ads, and I'm tightening up the stop in here to this 69. It's just not moving at all. Like, it's giving you a little bit of a dip, but not enough for me. So I might take some out the first 5 cents. ARM, the second it made that push down underneath the 140, I'm like, okay, this is the time of day when I want to take the short, but looking pretty strong. I actually just took it out through the 140. I'm about to explain that I'm not giving it to the high of the day. I'm only going to give it to the 140 level. Just a little bit too strong, and I'm not sure this is the time. So Intel not weak enough, so we're going to tighten the stop there, and then I immediately tighten the stop on ARM and save 50 cents on it. So sometimes you like the level, but maybe you should be letting it press to this 141. So I'm just going to back off of ARM for a little bit here. Still cannot get this dip buy in Palantir, which is fine because it means the stock is continuing to go higher. It just made another fresh move at that top. But the closer we get to midday, the less time we have to maybe rejoin this trend back in at VWAP. And VWAP, now down here at 2285, 2290. That's still where we're looking for the dip buy on Palantir. If you're quick to it, you could have had it that one last time that I missed. Let's get to the desk. We've got Sector Watch with Brendan.
Market back to the upside here, trying to break through right now anyways for the NASDAQ. The pre-market highs back to positive for tech side of things anyways. That's how the S&P 500 is looking currently. Not a heck of a lot as far as standout positivity. AVGO on that positive note this morning. AMD downside, AVGO to the upside in the semiconductor space. Apple red, once again, ahead of what's to come this afternoon. Nvidia, as the guys have been mentioning, back to the downside as well. Microsoft and Meta quietly with pretty good days here, 0.6% for each. There was a court ruling that went in Meta's favor. I was reading this morning, not a huge move or volume to follow behind that, but worth a note. Eli Lilly, they're expecting a private panel to review their Alzheimer's or one of their Alzheimer's treatments coming up this afternoon. So LLY, 0.8% to the upside. Retail, as I said, right out of the gate this morning, all kinds of strength here. Walmart with the JP Morgan positive note this morning. Amazon 1% leading the way here to the upside as well. Energy's positive. Oil's kind of chopping around, but energy stocks notably up. Oil itself back to that Warren Buffett level. So as we said, Oxy being purchased again by Berkshire. Guys.
No.
All right, so right here we go, man. Let's hit the siren alert now because we're now $3 in the money here on, first of all, Apple's starting to rip up right now. There it is right now. There's Nvidia, 118 long. We knew that we didn't know it, but we talked about possible drop post-split. So this is what we've been doing on, now we're $3 in the money and starting to rip up on Nvidia. So there's the drop early that we liked. It did go into 117. I wish we had gotten long down there, but instead we cover our short and then bust it long, and now Nvidia, not one, not two, Neil, but $3, and this is for everybody else out there, as we'll get that cow going right there to the upside, as it's been a money-making opportunity here for us today. That is, of course, the belle of the ball, Nvidia. You know, like we mentioned there, a big stock for the desk today. GameStop, still trying to get going through 28 would be real nice. We're going to hold on to this pretty much all day. Thank you so much, Rivian Millionaire. Dang, Sean's a gangster. Yeah, you should have seen me in my past life. Right there. Shout out to you, Rivian Millionaire, as where. Yeah, share size. Yeah, that would have been hilarious if we would have. Remember I was saying that I had a problem using too many shares on Nvidia last week? This week we are much more comfortable trading in the $100 level with Nvidia. And like I said, you guys trade it with whatever share size there is, like all of us, Neil, Sharif, myself, Adair, we all trade with significantly different share sizes on different opportunities. So again, that's just something to remember. And again, take your trades and judge us based on what you see and judge those trade ideas based on the end result. So right there, here we go. Apple, nice upside move. Nvidia, nice upside move. And here we go again. Let's see what happens with GameStop. if we can get 29 now, so I am offering 29.25, but now the 200 periods come down a little bit. Maybe this bottom 28.75 in case we get going. We definitely want to make sure that we hold on to something here for GME for that big move. If it does come through, we've already cashed out a little bit here today on GameStop.
It's funny that you just said GameStop because I was about to point out I'm getting on the bit again of AMC because every single time it spikes, it's like, okay, well, look at AMC. Just hold 480, 480, 480, 480, and then spike up, we'll get some out. So as long as this is upward trending, I don't want to be reloading the stock. We got that one push up when this got to 28, and we're able to short off of that, but suddenly GameStop looks like it's breaking out this 28 level, so we'll make the adjustment, continue to get out. We'll hold some. If we never break 28, I think we're still looking pretty good. Hover, the stock is Hover. Oh, sorry, HOVR, New Horizon Aircraft. So great name, but the company's name isn't actually Hover. That's my bad. Bounced off $1 one more time here. Was able to get some at 4s. I am on the bid here at 2s and 3s, and now again at 4. Scalp some out in front of 108. So it's holding the $1 line pretty well, but it's lower highs all the way through. 26 million in volume is kind of good. It's not spectacular for a stock this cheap. It'd be a lot better if it was over 100 million. So we're going to be doing some scalp trading in the middle here on HOVR. GameStop is trying to break that $28 level. If it breaks 28, I said I would punch out even if I was in the money on AMC because I think you could be going higher here. So I'm just going to, well, nope, 28 hasn't broken just yet on GameStop. But there's no need to try and reload this. If GameStop curls, I can always punch back into the short on AMC. That's the value of at real trading or just being an active trader. You can get out of the trade knowing full well I want to jump back in the short at some point. I can just time it with weakness in GameStop. So GME is pressing this 28 level without actually, now it's starting to break. Now it's starting to break. I'm just going to get out. We're able to take profit on AMC with GameStop pressing that 28 level, taking profit on the short trade, that is.
Yeah, man, and there it is again. Let's go. Let's put it up again. It's another. It's the same trade, but it's $1. So we're $1 in the money now on GME, and we've been trying to be very, very responsible with our trading here today, and just to try to make sure that we got the right levels, and we're being a little more patient. We were in and out like kind of like a maniac on Friday, and of course, and that's how you get better as a trader, right? It's not run away from the stock that you lost on. It's figure out how to get better on it. Like that's all that I did. We went home and we just said, what the hell were we doing trying to catch all these hero longs? Let's just do what we do best. We've already told you guys we're a support and resistance trader. So it came into support. We bought it. So now let's go. This is where I don't do the best because I'm thinking, hey, how far can we go? But right now, like I said, P&L number 1 on the show will be Nvidia. Hopefully GameStop can get going as well. We traded this one real well. There goes GameStop up into 28.50. I am offering 28.50. If we can get that, great. A little bit of a pullback here as GME's starting to get going again. So let's just hit this guy and say to the moon with GameStop, and we'll see if it wants to get higher and higher and higher. Yeah, we'll just check right here. Yeah, GameStop will be, again, who knows where it's going to go. Probably should take some out there, especially if it doesn't want to take that 28.50. But let's give it one more shot. Back up to the upside right now. Hey, we know the story. Let's see if it works. Nvidia, $3. We really, really like this trade again. I mean, it's right back up into the high of the day. If this is going to be the best name to buy in the market, then let's just stick with it and watch it continue to print for us. So there it is, man. It's a beautiful trade. We've only traded 3 names. We'll go 2 for 3, and we're right where we need to be here today. Let's go, Nvidia. Let's get this going through the upside again. We wrote down 118 long. We have that trade. So that's $3. GameStop's $1 right now. Apple's 50 cents. We're 3 for 3 holding on to these, and I don't see any reason to get out. I mean, the market is flat right now. We're above 19,000. I like it. I like it a lot. I like these longs heading into the afternoon. So I do agree with you there, Dan Gilman. Nvidia looks to me like it wants to keep going. I mean, there's no reason for this name to stop right now. Unfortunately, our charts won't, again, show you the split adjusted pricing, but for right now, for today, it does. And we are holding now above this 120.50. So, I mean, for me, my net really, I mean, GameStop, just because of how volatile it is, my net would last a little bit. This is the one that probably affects my positions the most right now. We do have the most shares on Apple, but Apple's kind of sleepy, so I'm not so concerned about this position right now for Apple. I would like to get more if it comes back to 195, but maybe we're getting a little bit exhausted now. Pretty flat day for the market, literally up zeros.
Yeah, 0.02% down the Nasdaq. It's 0.07% on the ES. So not, a heck of a lot of nothing. So I'm going to quickly show you something. I just chased this, which I don't necessarily love. Not a huge fan of chasing that move. I saw GameStop fail the 28 level one more time. I'm like, okay, let me try to get short, and then it was right in front of that 482 level. So I got in at 84, which isn't great, immediately on the bid at 82s to take something out. It's a curl in GME, but it's not a great one, especially with it just underneath that 28 and just at that VWAP, but it was a turn, and I went into the short trade. I'm not even gonna give it more than a couple cents there. Intel's a NASDAQ stock that actually did hold this consolidation, and then we failed underneath. I don't want to say failed, but the NASDAQ just did this wick over the highs, pulled right back in. I'm like, okay, well, now things look a little bit better. Let's scalp trade it into VWAP again. So we grabbed the same price, 65s, taking some out this time in front of 60s. Then we'll have bids into the 350 level. So it's down 0.5%. Not terribly weak compared to the market, but it is weak compared to the market, at least a little bit, which I do like over there on INTC. That hovers really... Okay, I'm not even gonna, I was about to say hovering off that dollar level, but that's kind of a cheap pun. Just notice they have warrants on this stock, so if you see HOVR go into a halt, there are warrants there that you can look at. Doesn't look like a lot of volume. Coming right back into this dollar level, I'm on the bid here, 3s, 4s, into a buck. If it breaks 99, I'm out. That's simple. It's a gimmicky trade off that dollar level. That's all I'm looking for. Volume really starting to taper off. If we're still doing this kind of volume and we haven't made a push at least into like 110, 115 by say 11 o'clock, I think I get away from this trade pretty easily. I'd like to see it actually bounce and go, lower highs being put in. So some scalp trades are available, but at some point it's just going to give up the ghost, I think. Well, before we go back,
go.
I haven't tested Tesla. I haven't traded Tesla once today. And I said, I thought it was going to be an inside day on Tesla. I just figured we'd actually get the bottom or the top of the range. That hasn't happened. But if it's going to stay an inside day, 175.5 would be a fresh low for it. With the market strong, I want to look for a long opportunity in Tesla. So the fact that it hasn't gone just yet, I think I'd like to play it off the low of the day here, especially with the market trending up. So 175.5 is the bottom. We get just down a little bit closer to that low. I think I take a shot here on Tesla. Can't seem to break the range at all. Let's go over to the desk. It's 10:50, which means money talks.
Yeah, quiet for most currencies so far this morning, guys. If anything, some strength coming out of the Eurozone today with that snap election call possibly over in France, but the euro itself back to the upside to the tune of, this is all versus the Canadian dollar, to the tune of 0.6%. Dollar a little bit, USD a little bit red versus the CAD. Strength coming off of what happened last week for the Canadian dollar, British pound. Dead flat, same story for the Japanese yen at this point, as I was suggesting early on this morning, was nowhere near this much, but back above 105 and change here now for the US dollar after holding that initial support this morning, 2 days in a row. Dollar strength coming in ahead of what is to come later in the week. Remember, CPI and FOMC coming up on Wednesday, guys.
All right, thanks. Yeah, we sort of forgot to look at some of the dollar movements there. So thanks, Brendan, for all of that. And of course, we'd like to see a little bit of a weaker dollar potentially there for tech names. But for today, it's been okay. Up 0.6 right now and starting to go finally on all of this. I'm still looking at GameStop, but just an FYI on this. Apple's not doing anything, so we got another piece out at 49 there. See all these ones? They're printing again here. So we're getting like a lot of, I don't know, just tomfoolery, I guess, here on Apple. I don't like when this happens. Like, all of these ones just keep on coming through, and I don't know if it's affecting anything, but look at this market as it's starting to go higher. And by the way, it's now a $3 winner, of course, on those posted Nvidia levels. But Apple is having a hard time going, and I just don't know why. So let's get another, there's 49. So if you don't believe me, take it out now. There it goes. Apple through 49. I still, like I said, I like the level, I like the name, but I'm just not certain about these prints and what exactly that means. So we'll wait for that. A stock that we've given a couple times for longs has been Shopify. I like this one. Katina Capital stamped this one at 57.58 for that 60 break. We were lucky enough to get it last week on an upgrade, and there goes Shopify. I mean, look, when we started talking about it was right down here. I mean, it's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 9 straight up days for Shopify or something like that. So we really, really like this name. We're holding on to it, and it's been a good name for us. Another name that we've recently bought was Alibaba. We actually recently bought Snowflake as well. We'll have to check on that, as that probably is going downside again. Alibaba, we're long at 71.75 or something like that, maybe a little bit better than that price. But at the end of the day, Alibaba trying to hold the 50-period moving average and staying above 77. So I really like that for a potential long as well. So something coming up there for Alibaba back into $77. So if that hits, that's good. GameStop not doing much, Nvidia not doing much right now. I was going to say, so this is setting up to be shorted maybe, the triple Qs, but it means you're going to have to short the NASDAQ. And the reason why I said potentially, here is the 50-period moving average on a 20-minute chart. It's just come all the way back into that level. Normally, those can be played as retracement levels. Like, here's the move down, and there's the spike off of it. Here's hitting it again all the way down. And then again, it's hard to look at it overnight or anything like that, but as you look, there's the push back, the bounce up, there's the break down in. Didn't do much earlier, but right here we're dancing with it again. So if you were long the futures from this bottom, first of all, congratulations. It's been a nice trade off 19,000 all the way to 19,060. But for right now, I would think the risk is more in the long just because of where we've come from and potentially falling back into VWAP in 19,000. But I mean, we're net long everything. We only have 3 names and they're all long, including Apple, which should be a good long for the market, and Nvidia. We're long the 2 biggest names in the world. So yeah, we think the market goes higher from here. But just saying, we are getting to a spot where we're potentially exhausted. We only have 20% left of Nvidia. You know, up $1, take it, nice upside push to 121. So Nvidia, I still like it.
So I didn't quite hear the exact news on DJT there, but DJT just made a pretty big or hefty move to the downside. We'll get it to you in a second once it hits a wire. Or maybe they'll repeat it there in our ear. But $3 to the downside. It was looking pretty strong and heavily green. Now breaking down is DJT through fresh lows and on volume, making more lows and lower and lower. Not a very good look. It does have support at 42 on the daily chart, which it's pretty much at right now. So if you're looking to buy it, good luck. The volume's it's actually pretty good. 1.6 million in volume today. Usually I'll complain about the volume on DJT. The other thing we haven't talked about is FCell and that dollar level. Fuel Cell reported this morning it has wicked $1 multiple times. So it broke 1, got to 101, and is making higher lows. The reason for optimism is the last couple times it broke $1, 102, 102, 102. So this thing gets over 102, 102. It's never getting to that. If it gets over 102, this looks like a good breakout. But there's the other way to play it is simply to look at VWAP as well. So I always talk about buying dips sometimes better than taking a breakout through the high of the day. This feels like that same thing. You buy a dip in here off 97. If it holds 96, great. That way, if it breaks $1 and fails, you're in the money as opposed to getting in at the high. On FCell. So up 13%, 34 million in volume. They reported this morning before the bell. So a bit of a runner on FCell. Only 5 minutes to go. Looking for some new names to trade. You know the event's not coming for Apple until 1 o'clock. So you do have some time for the market to kind of potentially go sideways. And 22% short float. I just want to double check here on FCell. I knew it was a decent one. 22%, not bad at all. So looking for a bounce off VWAP here, and I'm going to go long into $1 for a change.
All right, so yeah, same kind of talk here. We're $3 in the money on Nvidia, not getting out of it. We're not getting out of GameStop, and we're not getting out of Apple. So let's talk about trades that could hit in the next little while until we come back. So again, if Apple can hit 195, we'll buy it against its bottom. But the problem with that is, of course, is it probably sits here until 1 o'clock, which is 2 hours from now. We could see what happens, potential leaks and whatnot coming through. AMD getting a downgrade today, but like I said, that doesn't seem to be mattered as right there. Again, if Morgan Stanley downgrades something, that's the trigger to go long. So there it is right there, nice move back up 2 days high for advanced micro devices. So 166 and change right there in target. We had written down 165 short sell there. Obviously being $3 long in the money on Nvidia is letting me sort of relax and not worry about the possible trade here. But I said 165 as a possibility for AMD as being the top. Now, the reason that was, again, we did get that downgrade, so we were watching it. And then 165, we showed it. It was the very much bottom on Friday when we sort of bottomed on that number. And then we had a jump off spot right there through 165 all the way to 169 2 or 3 days ago. And then again, you can look back at an AMD chart and really sort of pick and choose many different levels. We've gotten run over by AMD over the last little while. So just like I'll tell you, the futures has been a top trade for me over the last couple months. AMD really, Nvidia's been a top trade, but AMD, I just keep not believing in some of these moves, and then we get run over. So there's 165. We had called this as a possible top before, but with the market screaming, and now guys, again, the biggest trade of the day here, $1, $2, $3 long on Nvidia, and Sharif, $1, $2, $3 short on Nvidia today. So playing this one like a fiddle, short early 121 down to 118, then long 118 back up to 121, now 350 in the money. So yeah, what's up, Racer? I mean, you and I both, find it hard to trade, but we don't find Nvidia hard to trade. As I said, probably our AMD, probably our number one stock for a while there, Nvidia and the TQs for me. But there goes Nvidia right now, Neil, almost $4 in the money off the bottom, and it's a sticky note posted level. So when those things work out, we're all about it. We were short, then we busted the long into this one back through. So those are the trades that we like.
Absolutely, and we'll see what happens. Tesla just hit the low of the day and bounced.
Boom.
So we said we'd take a shot off of this one, off that low. 175.60 is the bottom. It just came right back in. There was this little wick in here. I'll zoom it in for you. Literally just as Sean was speaking, it bounced off 70, and I got this long 25 cents higher. If it makes a fresh low, I'm jumping out. So we like to go station to station with these things. I'm not, at the end of the day, if I get into a trade, immediately it's like, what's my out? And I'll tell you guys. I'm not giving it to the low of the day, it's the higher low. If I'm trading something which is at the low when the market's at the high, then I'm gonna have a tight stop on it. I'm gonna respect that stop, just try to keep it in the pocket. So if that gets out, it's not about that low, it's about this local bottom. With the market going higher, I mentioned that Intel wasn't very strong, relatively speaking. So we just got some out at 58, playing into VWAP here. So as the market continues to go on the NASDAQ, higher, 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 Nvidia goes higher, 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 AMD goes higher and higher and higher. Well, not so much with Intel, down 0.5%. I think this plays into VWAP as it's clearly weak relative to the other names. So we spot relative weakness versus strength, and we try to take advantage of it. The other thing we take advantage of is the knowledge that you gain in Learn to Trade. So without further ado, it is 11. We'll be back at 2 o'clock, which will be an hour into the Apple event. So you're going to get a little bit of that as well. We've got, in for Adara, we've got Obi one more time here as she's getting a much-deserved break with the professor, and Obi, go get him.
Yes, yes, yes. What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade, formerly known, Obi, as that midday show. That is not Adara. That is